natural grass stadium in the entire Big Ten Conference. Now, the Huskies have made 9 straight bowl appearances, and this season looks no different, as Sam Atkins explains.
Seniors. 15 starters returned, 8 of them on the offense, where Kerry Conklin has assumed the starting role at quarterback. Conklin came off the bench last year to relieve the injured Chris Chandler and responded well.
He's really improved. We've seen it in practice and the scrimmages, and he's made a lot of progress, but he's just got to go out and get it done now. He's got to go out and play under pressure and do the things that he's capable of doing, and the one way he's going to do that is just show up and get after it.
I feel real good. I've had a pretty good fall camp, and I'm playing with a lot of confidence right now, so we just need to go out there and get some game experience.
Just who Conklin will throw to remains somewhat of a mystery. 5th-year senior Brian Slater returns at flanker, but a preseason knee injury has slowed him. The rest of the receiving corps is relatively inexperienced. Andre Riley starts at split end, the only other receiver with game time. Washington's offensive strength is up front. In a much ballyhooed move, the line has shed some pounds to gain quickness. All-America candidate Mike Zandowski leads the charge.
We got a lot of redshirt seniors out there, got a lot of playing experience on the field, on the line, and I think it should be right for everybody to expect us to hold up our own this year.
Well, hopefully we can give it to some of those big backs behind him who've been around the program for 5 years, and Aaron Jenkins and Vince Weathersby, and that may take a little pressure off of Kerry. If we end up with a lot of second and third and longs, and everybody can tee off on your quarterback, no matter whether he's inexperienced or experienced. So this has got to be the goal of the offense, is to keep him out of a lot of predictable situations.
Yeah, I feel that we have a strong running game and passing game, even though Kerry doesn't have that much experience. He's a real confident kid, and he's going to go out there and do his job.
No mystery who the big guns are on defense. Junior tackle Dennis Brown is a bona fide All-America candidate, and the secondary is blessed with experience. The question mark, however, is at linebacker, where freshmen are prominent on the depth chart.
Well, I'm very concerned about it. They're good athletes, but their intelligence isn't there yet, and we've got a ways to go. Experience in the secondary and defensive line, they'll have to carry the defense for the early games.
The secondary is ready to pick up the slack. Darrell Hall and Art Malone stand out. Washington led the Pac-10 in pass defense a year ago.
Well, we've been together for 2 years now. So anytime that you've played together like we have, you kind of get a chemistry going, so we feel pretty good about each other.
I don't really know how good we can be because I'm not one to put limits on ourselves. I just feel that we'll be up there with the best.
I think City Seattle is going to be impressed. There's a positive attitude on the defense. We've got strong leadership, and we're ready to get after them.
And Don James is confident his team will get after Purdue. He'd like to find some time in the preseason to get his second-teamers some experience.
In the past, any player that's in the backup role that's very close to the starter gets to play. Maybe it's the third series, and then he alternates series. But we've got so many of the offensive players that are back and have had good springs and good fall camps that we think maybe that we might be able to get away with substituting a whole second unit and do it on occasion.
Sam, how much advantage will Washington be able to take of a Purdue defense that's relatively young?
Not really that much, because Purdue plays very aggressive man-to-man defense, and their secondary is also very experienced. That's a strength of their defense. Just like Washington, Purdue's defense is lacking in linebacker experience.
And it seems, Sam, that Fred Akers' football team is much improved in 1988.
Purdue coach Fred Akers is in search of his 100th career victory against Washington today, but his team is the underdog. The Boilermakers finished 3-7-1 a year ago. Look for improvement as Akers begins his second season in West Lafayette.
We lost a lot of guys, especially in our offensive line and some linebackers, but we know so much more about what we're doing. We have more confidence in what we're doing. And I think we're stronger and a little quicker than we were a year ago, so we expect to be improved too.
Purdue averaged just 88 yards per game on the ground last year. Akers emphasized the importance of the run in fall camp.
If experience means anything, we're not, much different size-wise or speed, but a year of experience maybe will improve us. We need improvement there. We didn't do very well.
4 starters return offensively. Part-time starter Sean McCarthy is back at quarterback.
Sean hasn't really had a chance to prove that he's going to be a quarterback. He filled in for us last year. and started 5 football games for us, but he was a punter. I mean, in his mind, he was a punter. On the field, he was a punter about half the time, and it just didn't get into it. So the book's still out on him. We're hoping that he's going to turn into a real quarterback.
The Boilermakers must shore up the defense to compete in the Big Ten, and Akers has attempted to do that. 3-year starter Mark Foster is the key. He's one of 3 seniors starting on defense and the top tackler returning from last year's club.
Our defense is going to be improved, but I think probably our secondary might be the single unit that's improved the most. Mark's a top one. He could play for anyone in the country, and he's certainly one of our top football players and one of our leaders.
Akers achieved success at Wyoming and Texas, and there's really no reason to think he won't accomplish the same at Purdue.
What is Fred Akers' primary objective going into 1988?
Well, to be improved, to be a football team that's going to show improvement, to step up and maybe beat some people we're not supposed to beat. We came close last year, but didn't quite get across, you know. Well, we'll hope that we'll play with that same effort and actually defeat some people we're not supposed to beat this year.
Last year, Sam Atkins, Washington pulled away in the 4th quarter to defeat Purdue 28-10 in Husky Stadium.
And the game was much closer than the score indicated. It was really, you could break the game down into 4 big plays by the Washington offense. And I think we're going to see the same type of environment today because of Purdue's aggressive man-to-man pass defense.
There's more ahead as we count down to kickoff. Washington at Purdue for the season opener. And we're back with more following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88.
Today's game between the University of Washington Huskies and the Purdue University Boilermakers is brought to you by Rainier Beer. The only beer we drink around here is Rainier. And by Fred Meyer. You'll find it at Freddy's.
Keith Chipman and Sam Atkins in West Lafayette, Indiana, where the University of Washington begins the 1988 season against Purdue University of the Big Ten. Sam, how about the weather today? Is that going to be any factor as these two teams take the field for their season opener?
Not a factor at all. There was some concern about coming to the Midwest and this humidity, but today is a perfect day for football. Humidity is very low, and great weather. Should be about 80 degrees down on the field.
And the Huskies have had very good weather to work out in throughout much of fall camp.
They've only had 1 rainy day, which will help them later on in the season.
Now, all eyes will be on the field generals for today's opener. Purdue features Sean McCarthy. He is 6'6", 224 pounds, out of Fremont, Ohio. And Sam, this guy can play a little bit given the opportunity.
He started 5 games last year as the reluctant quarterback. He really didn't want to come in and play quarterback. He wanted to be the punter. However, they won 2 of those 5 games, which has given him confidence to carry over into this year.
And for Washington, the new starter is Kerry Conklin, 6'4", 216 pounds, from Yakima's Eisenhower High.
And Kerry has had a great fall camp. The games that he played in last year, late in the year, really helped his confidence. And as he says, I'm playing with a lot of confidence now, which is exactly what you have to do as a quarterback.
The Washington Huskies and Purdue University Boilermakers set to kick off the 1988 season here in West Lafayette, Indiana. We're back following these messages from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. West Lafayette, Indiana, the home of Purdue University, where the Washington Huskies, ranked 20th in the nation, kick off the season against the Purdue University Boilermakers, coached by Fred Akers. And I'm sure, Sam, that Fred Akers didn't mind seeing that Texas Longhorns get beat up pretty good by the Brigham Young Cougars last Thursday night. He, after all, was fired there a couple of years ago after taking the Longhorns to 8 bowl games in his 10-year tenure in Texas.
That's kind of like Earl Bruce at Ohio State, you know, where they expect you to win no matter what.
Boy, no appreciation for anything. How about the NCAA's ruling yesterday, helping the Texas A&M Aggies in their recruiting process in the next couple of years. They've been placed on 2-year probation. They'll lose a couple of coaches in the recruiting process and 10 scholarships in the next 2 years, all due to 25 or so infractions of NCAA rules.
And as Jackie Sherrill would make Chuck Knox very proud, he says there's been a lot of stress with this team over the last 5 or 6 years. Now we'll have to take the hand that's been dealt us and go on from there.
Wonder if Washington can get a retroactive victory out of last year's Texas A&M loss.
That still wouldn't make Chris Chandler's ribs feel any better.
Well, I'll tell you what. Purdue University has won the toss and elected to receive. The Washington Huskies will kick off, and this will be our first opportunity to see John McCallum in the 1988 season. McCallum, the junior out of Seattle, has won the place-kicking job He succeeds Brandy Brownlee, who has gone on to bigger and better things. He was drafted, or actually he was signed as a free agent by the New York Giants and kicked very well for them in the preseason before being turned loose. That means Purdue will receive the opening kickoff. There is Fred Akers. Deep to receive for the Boilermakers, Calvin Williams, number 88. Jarrett Scales, number 22. Curtis McManus is 37. Ray Graham, we may see it sometime today, wears number 12. They have a host of people who can get back there and receive kicks, the most deadly of which and most potent of which as a kick returner is Calvin Williams. We're set to go for Husky football, 88. Pleased you've joined us wherever you are in the Pacific Northwest this morning. We're underway in Purdue. Jarrett Scales out to the 20-yard line, and that's where the Boilermakers will begin on their first possession. And Sam, we'll see Sean McCarthy for the first time today. McCarthy, the junior from Fremont, Ohio.
Who should start, he's starting to feel comfortable in his position as the quarterback. He's taken over this ball club. He now knows that he's expected to play quarterback, and that's really helped his confidence. Winning those 2 games last year and his last 5 starts helped him to know that he can play in this league.
Well, there's a lot to go up against. 1st and 20, that Husky defensive line ready to play in 1988. High formation. The backs are Miles and Scales. Scales to the 23-yard line where he's met and dropped. Ricky Andrews from his right inside linebacker spot there for the tackle.
Ricky Andrews, one of the senior captains this year, 5th-year redshirt, is expected to provide the spark for the Husky defense. His freshman year was 1984 when the Purple Rain defense was roaming the field, and he's trying to create that same type of enthusiasm in this year's defense.
2nd and 7. McCarthy will go to the air and overthrows his intended receiver.
He was throwing to Calvin Williams. Calvin Williams really didn't have a chance at that ball, and the reason that he didn't have a chance at that ball is because Dennis Brown was putting so much pressure on Sean McCarthy that Sean got drilled just as he let the football go.
So it'll be 3rd and 7 now. We'll talk more about the Washington linebacking core today, but the Husky secondary, one of the strengths of this club. Be tough to pass against them today. McCarthy will go to the air on 3rd and 7. Complete. That's Calvin Williams, the flanker. They'll take a first down any way they can get it.
Ivory Randall had his hands on the football, went up high, tried to make the catch. The deflection goes to the flanker coming on an in route. And normally in a passing game, you don't try to stack your receivers like that. But fortunately, that's called being in the right place at the right time.
14-yard passing gain for the Boilermakers. Williams, their leading receiver a year ago. And on first down, it is Jarrett Scales. Jeff Colvis made the stop for Washington. We'll see a lot of Scales today as the Boilermakers try to emphasize that running attack in 1988, Sam.
They have a combo type of offense where they like to spread the field and they like to go out of the I formation with 2 backs. But generally, they will take the backs and spread them out in a slot position.
2nd and 5 from the 43 of Purdue. It's Williams in motion. Pass was intended for Williams. McCarthy seems to be a bit tentative going up against that Husky secondary.
You see him patting his chest saying, that's my fault, it's a bad throw. He's just a little bit nervous. He just needs to settle down. He's got open receivers. Eugene Burkhalter was coming from his free safety position to provide coverage on Williams. Had Eugene not fallen down, he would have had an easy interception and probably would have scored.
Lilo Lang, Darrell Hall, Eugene Burkhalter, and Art Malone make up the Husky secondary, which led the Pac-10 in pass defense a year ago. 3rd and 5. Going long, batted away by Art Malone. Todd Moore was the intended receiver, and Sam, a fine play by Malone.
Moore, experienced receiver, played in 9 ball games last year as a freshman. But Art Malone, excellent coverage, timed his jump just right in order to knock that football away. Eugene Burkhalter was also right there. Great coverage by the Husky secondary.
Sean McCarthy will drop back a few steps and punt now, and Andre Riley is deep to receive for the University of Washington. Nice punt. Riley takes it at his 25, and he's wrapped up and dropped immediately. A 32-yard punt with no return. Washington and Purdue scoreless, and we're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. We are back in West Lafayette, Indiana. Washington and Purdue kicking off the 1988 season. The Huskies' first series starts from their own 25, and Purdue's defense is fired up today, Sam. They have something to prove after giving up a lot of yards a year ago.
They do have an experienced secondary and experienced defensive front. Their question mark is at linebacker, but they do have some great athletes with a lot of speed.
Aaron Jenkins and Vince Weathersby are the starting running backs. Riley, Slater are the receivers, along with tight end Mark Kilpack, and Kerry Conklin is the quarterback for the University of Washington. This is Vince Weathersby on second down to the 31 for a gain of 6. Jarrell Williams made the stop.
Jarrell Williams is the veteran leader of that defense, along with Mark Foster, the free safety, but Jarrell Williams is the only experienced linebacker in their depth chart. Just like the Washington Huskies have Ricky Andrews and the freshman, that's the way it is over here for Purdue on defense with Jarrell Williams.
3rd and 4. The Huskies work from the I formation again, and this is Slater in motion. Conklin to pass. In and out of the hands of Brian Slater, and it will be 4th down. So Washington's first series is 3 and out. And the Purdue fans are on their feet for their defense, having stopped the University of Washington.
Brian Slater, anticipating a blitz, runs the quick out route. Kerry Conklin's coming out on a corner on a sprint out. Doesn't quite have the room to throw because Jarrell Williams is in his face. Kerry can't get his shoulders turned and threw the ball behind Brian Slater.
Troy McNair to punt for Washington. Calvin Williams is the deep back for Purdue. McNair's first punt as a Husky. Fair caught at the 38-yard line by Calvin Williams. And Sam, Purdue has good field position to start their second drive of the game. We'll come back and see how they do. Scoreless with 11:27 to play, first quarter. Keith Chipman, Sam Atkins in West Lafayette, Indiana, where the Washington Huskies open up the 1988 season against the Purdue University Boilermakers. And McCarthy on that first drive, their quarterback, 1 for 4 passing for 14 yards. They pick up a first down before the Husky defense can stop them. We'll see what they can do on their second drive with good field possession. 1st and 10 from the 38. Fumble. Washington has the football. Darren Miles was the running back. The ball popped in and out of his hands. And Travis Richardson recovered the fumble for the University of Washington Huskies. Sam Atkins there is that creative defense, forcing the turnovers.
Impact plays which the defense is trying to provide for the offense. The ball comes out right away, and Travis Richardson's right there to scoop the football up.
So 1st and 10 Washington from the 38 of Purdue. Aaron Jenkins inside the 25-yard line. Steve Jackson made the stop. But Jenkins picks up a first down.
Washington wants to establish that running game early in this ball game to take the pressure off of Kerry Conklin. And they expect big things this year out of Aaron Jenkins. He's had an outstanding fall camp and is healthy for the first time in his career.
16-yard gain. It's 1st and 10 from the 22 of Purdue. Conklin in play action, a heavy rush. Jenkins on the receiving end. And he's driven out of bounds at the 13-yard line by Ronnie Beeks. Don James in his 14th season, winningest coach in University of Washington history.
Purdue front is providing a lot of pressure for Kerry Conklin. He rolls out of the pocket. You can see the pressure being applied by the middle linebacker, Darren Trebe, who is trying to come on a blitz and get to Kerry Conklin. But because he's rolled out of the pocket, Kerry's able to get outside, find the throwing lane, and get a completion to V-Dub.
Near a first down, they are having a look at it with the change right now. Aaron Jenkins, the fullback for Washington, an honorable mention all Pac-10 selection a year ago, Sam, and they seem to be building the offense around him in 1988.
Big opportunity for Washington to take the ball in here and score after a big turnover. That's what the offense needs to do, is capitalize on the opportunities that the defense provides for them.
Another first down. It's 1st and 10 from the 12. Jenkins inside the 10 to about the 7-yard line, and Aaron Jenkins has been the workhorse on this drive. Mark Foster, we'll hear his name a lot today. If Don James has anything to say about it, that means Washington's running backs are in the secondary.
Mark Foster was second leading tackler on the ball club last year. And get the free safety to come up into that line of scrimmage and then throw the ball behind him.
Jenkins with a couple of carries has 21 yards gained thus far. 2nd and 6. Well, they barely got the handoff accomplished. Jenkins carries once again, and Darren Tribe makes the stop.
Kerry Conklin looked like he was either stepped on by Bern Brostek or Brett Weesey as he tried to turn around and make the handoff to Aaron Jenkins.
Out of Stockton, California.
Wants us to say hi to his mom and dad in Stockton, California today.
Battling back from a severe knee injury when he came to the University of Washington, a high school-related injury. Here's the wishbone. A fumble. Purdue has recovered the football. Lonnie Palele. Well, they're going to call that 4th down, Sam. We were all fooled. Officials say the ball was down, the knee was down.
Eric Alozi in to run that wishbone offense, which he does so well.
Donald Jones was a ball carrier.
And Don is trying to get that extra yardage, and the ball just kind of squirts out. The first give is to that fullback. Alozi puts the ball in there, and Don never really had a handle on it. As he went into that pile, he was fighting for that football.
Boy, how about
but they stopped. They say his forward progress was stopped before the ball came out.
On 4th and 1, Alozi, the quarterback again. Stopped shy of the first down, and now it's official. Purdue will take over on downs. Steve Jackson wrapped up Eric Alozi.
And the guy who made that play possible for the Purdue defense was Derek Kelson, number 2. He came up from his right corner position, took away the pitch man, forcing Alozi to turn up, who turned right into Steve Jackson.
And the Purdue defense gets a big lift with a big play from Steve Jackson. And we're back following these words from your local stations on Husky Football 88. We shouldn't be surprised to see Eric Alozi this year for the Washington Huskies. He's going to engineer that goal line offense, it looks like.
They want to use him as often as possible in the wishbone set.
Huskies turn it over on downs. Purdue starts at their own 5-yard line, 1st and 10. Darren Miles, the ball carrier, number 2 rusher a year ago, led the team with 8 touchdowns. Jeff Colvis made the stop. Sean McCarthy's numbers thus far today. McCarthy, as Sam mentioned earlier, the punter for the last 2 years, and Doug Downing, who he backed up, is now a graduate assistant for the Purdue University football team coaching staff. Gain of 2 at 2nd and 8. Jared Scales, the ball carrier, and he picked up a couple. Lilo Lang up from his corner spot to make the stop.
Forcing hard, and one of the concerns that Coach Fred Akers has about this year's Purdue football team is the offensive line. They lost 4 starters to graduation last year. Center Bruce Kreitz is the only one that's coming back, and he started as a guard last year, all 11 games.
He is the only person who's really run up a string of consecutive starts. He has 22 going into this game. Washington drops Miles for perhaps a yard loss. Travis Richardson and Art Hunter there to make the stop for Washington, and it'll be 4th and 9, and so Sean McCarthy will back up into his own end zone and kick it away, and Andre Riley is waiting at about the 40-yard line of Washington. Sam, special teams so important for the Huskies this year.
Don James was not pleased with their performance last year.
Huskies will try to set up a return. Riley fair catches at the 46-yard line. The Huskies have pretty good field position after that 41-yard punt.
The Huskies went after the punt, trying to get the block on McCarthy in the end zone. So that's why Andre had to fair catch the football, because he didn't have any blockers coming back downfield to lead the way back for him.
So 1st and 10 Huskies, looking for their first points of 88. They drove as far as the 5-yard line before turning the football over. Their most recent possession, and Kerry Conklin sets them up 1st and 10 at the 47. To pass. Conklin is met as he gets the ball away. Who made the reception? Intercepted. It'll be Purdue's football. The intended receiver was Brian Slater. Mark Foster with his first pick of 1988.
He had 4 interceptions last year. Stride for stride with Brian Slater. And Lonnie Palele was putting the pressure on Kerry Conklin, and Kerry really got nailed when he let go of this football. Brian Slater stops, sees the ball short. The ball goes right through his arms into Mark Foster's stomach, and Mark comes away with his first interception of 1988.
An all Big Ten performer a year ago, and we can see why he's receiving All-America recognition in the preseason.
Kerry Conklin, there's a shot that I was talking about when he threw that football.
Washington can ill afford to have a Conklin get hurt this early in the season. So 1st and 10 at the 20 for the Boilermakers after the touchback. Bob Willig makes the stop as Darren Miles carries again for Purdue. There's Mark Foster. He's the real star of this football team. Has that star quality about him, too. He's going to be a good player in the NFL. He'll smile to mom all the time when they put the camera on him.
They learned that in college.
Purdue 3-7-1 a year ago. 2 of their 3 victories engineered by this quarterback, Sean McCarthy, against Wisconsin and Northwestern. The 1-back set now on 2nd and 7. Darren Miles out of the backfield to pick up the pass. Ricky Andrews and Greg Travis there to bring him down.
Washington bringing only 3 defensive linemen, dropping everyone else in pass coverage. And Sean was back there looking around. McCarthy had a guy flash in front of his face, and it was Jason Segelski. And he kind of tentatively threw that football because he thought it was one of the Washington guys going to hit him. But it was his own man trying to provide extra protection who just got a little bit too deep.
Played 9 minutes. Purdue coach Fred Akers has to be happy. His defense has forced 2 turnovers. His offense has the ball now on 3rd and 2. A first down play for Purdue. That is Jared Scales. Ricky Andrews is busy at his right inside linebacker spot. A 4-yard gain, Sam, and Purdue is showing Washington they mean business today.
Well, it's the second year of the program. They now understand what Fred Akers and his coaching staff are talking about when they're talking about winning, believing in yourself, and plus they understand the system now, just like Dennis Erickson's ball club a week ago, Washington State.
1st and 10 from the 32. McCarthy to pass. Intended receiver was Todd Moore, a sophomore out of Austin, Texas.
The ball was thrown a little bit too high because Chico Fraley dropping back in his zone. McCarthy has to get the ball over his linebacker, and the ball has to sail on him a little bit. Chico Fraley, one of those freshmen starting on the inside at linebacker, Jim Lambright says they will dictate how much they play by the way they improve and pick up the defensive scheme.
On 2nd and 10. Miles.
Fumble.
And it's recovered by Jarrett Scales, and Purdue will maintain possession. Ricky Andrews appeared to have popped the ball loose, Sam.
But they're saying he was down before the ball came out, so they ruled off no fumble whatsoever because Washington recovered it. But Ricky Andrews is having a great ball game thus far at that middle linebacker position. Last year he played strong safety. They moved him back inside to take advantage of his 4.6 speed as a linebacker.
On 3rd and 6. Scales in motion. McCarthy will pass with lots of pressure. In and out of the hands of Scales, and it'll be 4th down for Purdue.
Can't fault the quarterback on that one. Sean McCarthy laid it right in there to Scales, and Scales just short-armed it. Pulled out those Izod arms, little tiny alligator arms, because he thought he was going to get hit. Ricky Andrews was providing the coverage and fell down. Their feet kind of tangled up, and Ricky was nowhere to be seen when the ball was thrown.
Andre Riley deep to receive his 3rd punt. This is Sean McCarthy. Low kick. Riley from his 26. Wrapped up and brought down, and Washington will start from its own 33-yard line. 4:15 to play. First quarter. We are scoreless at Ross-Ade Stadium in Lafayette, Indiana. Keith Tripp and Sam Atkins back in West Lafayette, Indiana. City of about 100,000, the home to Purdue University, the land-grant school here in the state of Indiana. We apologize for audio difficulties that we are having here in West Lafayette. We are making our efforts to correct those. Washington takes over 1st and 10 from their own 33. Kerry Conklin at quarterback. Aaron Jenkins, Vince Weathersby are the running backs. This is Weathersby, Huskies leading rusher a year ago, looking for big things in 1988. Picks up perhaps 2 on the play. It'll be 2nd and 8. .354 to play, first quarter, and we're scoreless. Kerry Conklin in his first start at quarterback, played in 3 games a year ago and had some pretty good success. Filling in for Chris Chandler. Jenkins, met by Tyrone Starks. 6'3" sophomore out of Las Vegas, and Sam, Purdue has recruited nationally, particularly since the arrival of Fred Akers.
Well, he's used to a big-time program, and he knows what it takes to win, so he's really raised the level of the athlete that they have here at Purdue. Tyrone Starks runs a 4.4 40 as an outside linebacker.
Memory serves me correctly, that's what I run the 10 in or something.
You said it.
3rd and 6 for Washington. The intended receiver was Brian Slater, and the secondary for Purdue is playing very well. Derek Nelson with heavy coverage.
Derek Kelson wants to have a big ball game today because last year Brian Slater caught 8 passes and 2 touchdowns against him at Husky Stadium.
So Washington is forced to punt. Troy McNair on for his second opportunity. Calvin Williams deep to receive, standing at his own 26-yard line. McNair gets off a pretty good punt. From the 27, it's Williams. Pretty good coverage by Husky special teams, a gain of just 3 after the punt. But Purdue has managed to keep Washington in check offensively. We're coming back to Purdue following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. Former Seattle Seahawks quarterback Sam Atkins back in West Lafayette, Indiana, where the Huskies are taking on Purdue in their 1988 season opener. No score with 2:44 to play, first quarter. Purdue's defense has played quite well. Washington with 2 turnovers thus far offensively. It's 1st and 10 Purdue at their own 32-yard line. Darren Miles, the ball carrier. Travis Richardson met him at the line of scrimmage and brought him down. No gain on the play. Good crowd on hand this afternoon. We expect a high temperature somewhere in the low to mid 80s and quite a bit of humidity as well by the time the day is over with. It was extremely warm when Washington worked out here yesterday afternoon. You can sense a renewed enthusiasm in the football program here on campus, though. People excited about what Fred Akers is doing in Lafayette. 2nd and 10. McCarthy's intended receiver was Kelly Turner, the tight end.
Coach Jim Lambright has to be pleased with the way the Washington linebackers are playing pass defense. Ricky Williams, Chico Fraley, right there, or excuse me, Ricky Andrews and Chico Fraley, right there, providing great coverage.
Boy, and the linebacking spot is so young, the Huskies could really have used a guy like David Hawkins this year, and Jay Roberts for that matter as well, but both were dismissed from the club, one for academic reasons, the other for problems off the field. 3rd and 10. Out of the backfield, it's Scott Nelson. Ricky Andrews there to bring him down, and it will be 4th down.
Sean McCarthy has somewhat lost his confidence. He's not even really looking downfield. He just wants to get some completions to get on a roll. You saw how quickly he turns to hit his back coming out of the backfield on a simple flare pattern, just trying to get those completions.
He's taking a bit of punishment from that Husky defensive line as well. And on 4th down, McCarthy will punt. Andre Riley having to hurry back to his 21-yard line. Can't seem to find any room. He's out to the 28. And with 1:18 to play, first quarter, Washington will take over and see if they can do something with this drive, Sam.
It's been a real defensive battle thus far, and defensive coordinator Phil Bennett for Purdue University was talking to his ball club yesterday and said, hey, hang in there. We can stop these guys. The ball game is going to come down to 3 or 4 big plays, just like it did last year. We stuffed them, and then it was 3 or 4 big plays where they scored and blew the game open. So he said, just hang in there.
1st and 10 from the 28. Weathersby met at the line of scrimmage. Boy, Purdue is impressive offensively thus far. Ronnie Beeks comes up to make the stop from strong safety. They haven't given Washington much of any breathing room at all.
Ronnie Beeks, talking about Proposition 48, missed last year due to academic ineligibility. He's a junior college transfer from West Los Angeles in Carson, California, which is a football breeding ground.
Vince Weathersby's numbers. He wants to have a big season to impress those scouts and also to impress the coaching staff here at Washington. Fumble, but Washington recovers. Another bad exchange, Sam.
That should not be a fumble, however, because Kerry Conklin was down on the ground when he tried to hand off the ball to V-Dub. But what's happening is Kerry Conklin is having trouble getting away from the center, and he might be false stepping because, oh no, there you see Brett Weesey step right on his foot. Kerry's not coming out away from the center. He wants to make sure he has that ball. You saw Brett Weesey step on his toe with his left foot.
So it'll be 3rd and 12 after a loss of 3. And the first quarter will come to an end before they get the playoff. A scoreless first quarter here in West Lafayette, Indiana. The Washington Huskies opening up against the Purdue Boilermakers of the Big Ten. We're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. Time Washington visited West Lafayette, Indiana, the Huskies came away with one of the most remarkable comebacks in school history, trailing 21-0 at the half. Sonny Sixkiller produced a Husky rally, 15-yard touchdown pass to Pete DeGarris in the fourth quarter, and then 4 minutes later, the Huskies won on a 25-yard field goal by Steve Wisbowski. 22-21, the final on September the 23rd, 1972. On 3rd and 12, the Huskies go to V-Dub, Vince Weathersby. Scott Conover made the stop. And the Huskies will be well short of the first down marker, and Purdue is held once again, and they're getting this crowd fired up, Sam.
The crowd during the quarter break got on their feet and gave the Purdue Boilermakers a standing ovation. They're pleased with what they see in the first quarter.
And well, they should be. Troy McNair, the junior college transfer, is on to punt out of Ventura, JC. Here's Calvin Williams. Gets away from a couple of Huskies and is up to the 44-yard line. Sam, Purdue has had much better field position this afternoon than Washington has.
Well, Washington had that early break on the turnover, and they were unable to capitalize, and since then, they have all started their drives deep in Husky territory.
32-yard punt, a 4-yard return.
See Kilpatrick and Don Jones come down. Don turns the play back in. Kilpatrick kind of runs around, gets faked out, and is unable to come up with a tackle.
Well, it's 1st and 10. Boilermakers from their own 44-yard line. Second quarter just underway at Ross-Ade Stadium. About 55,000 on hand today. Jeff Colvis made the stop. The ball carrier was Jarrett Scales, sophomore out of Houston, Texas. He played in 10 games a year ago. But the run wasn't much emphasized last season.
But they're trying to do that, take some pressure off of Sean McCarthy. We have an interesting battle on the Husky side of the football at nose guard. There's been great competition throughout fall camp between Jeff Colvis and Art Hunter. And it wasn't decided until Thursday that Jeff Colvis would be the starter.
Scott Nelson in the backfield for Purdue. The lone setback. McCarthy will go to the air. There's a flag on the play. In and out of the hands of Todd Moore, and he appeared to be a bit hesitant as he heard the footsteps of Marty Harrison. A flag, though, and it's coming back, Sam. We'll see what it is.
There was motion on the play before the snap. Washington will definitely bring it back, but Marty Harrison just loves his new position as an outside linebacker because now he can get involved in pass coverage. Last year he was second on the defense in tackles with 93 tackles. Now he can get involved in pass coverage. He was a decathlete in high school. He has very good speed on the outside and can really play pass defense very well. He can become more two-dimensional, and they've designed this new defense primarily around Marty Harrison and Darrell Hall because they're two great athletes. They want to get them around the football and give them a little bit more freedom to use their athletic ability.
The Huskies declined the penalty, the first flag of the game, an illegal shift, and it will make it 3rd and 6 to accept the loss of down. McCarthy will pass. Complete at the 37-yard line. Art Malone drove Todd Moore out of bounds there.
The Purdue front providing excellent protection for Sean McCarthy as he comes out on a roll. Darrell Hall comes on a safety blitz from a strong safety position, but McCarthy throws a strike on the out route. You can't fault Art Malone for coverage. You can't cover him any better than that. They're just going to have to face the facts that you're going to get some completions now and then.
16-yard gain and a first down for Purdue from the 37-yard line of Washington. I formation backfield. Scales. to the 32-yard line. Ricky Andrews made the stop. It'll be a gain of 5. But Scales has been busy thus far, Sam.
And he's the one that they're counting on to provide the new added dimension. You got to remember that Fred Akers came from Texas, where he had the likes of Roosevelt Leaks and a guy by the name of Earl Campbell. So he knows what it takes to run with the football, and he'd like to get these guys thinking run here at Purdue, the hotbed of quarterbacks.
2nd and 5. Scales once again. Jeff Colvis, the first one there, and Don James not the least bit pleased at the way his football team has allowed Purdue to move the football today.
He's hollering, come on, let's go. That's the way to go, defense. We'll get this offense going here in a minute.
Boy, Fred Akers has to be pleased. His team playing the 20th ranked club of the country through a scoreless tie. Jarrett Scales with 7 carries thus far. Third and 5. To the air once again. It's Todd Moore. Dennis Brown finally brought him down, and Sam looked as if he may have had first down yardage, but retreated a couple of steps and maybe just short.
That's exactly what happened. He tried to run around the oncoming closing Husky tacklers and lost the first down. He had the first down. The crowd is starting to get restless. They want Coach Fred Akers to go for it. Fred wants some extra time, so he's going to call it, ask for a measurement. But you see Todd with the first down, you see him go past the 30, and then he backs up and comes back across the 30 again and lose the first down that he had.
Purdue has asked for a full-blown timeout. They're 2 yards shy of the first down, and they'll discuss what their plan will be. We'll be back to West Lafayette, Indiana in just a moment. Well, the Purdue offense is still on the field, Sam, as they look at 4th down and 2 yards from the 29-yard line of Washington. Larry Sullivan is the place kicker, a redshirt freshman. They've elected to keep him on the bench.
And they've got Ray Graham, a running back, in at quarterback.
So look out
for a quarterback sneak, maybe. Motion.
Scales. Play whistle dead.
Derek Schmidt, the left guard, moved just before the snap, and part of that is the new quarterback coming in. A different cadence, different rhythm. He was anticipating the snap and moved just before the ball was snapped.
Ray Graham, as Sam mentioned, normally a running back.
That's what Keith's forehead looks like in the sunshine, right there.
And Graham, a bit of a pressure cooker there. He's a true freshman.
And they have him listed as a running back.
But he played quarterback in high school in Elizabeth, New Jersey. He was an all-metro option quarterback in that Veer offense and was very successful. So now McCarthy will punt on 4th and 7. And look at that. The Huskies will have to start inside their own 5-yard line. Lots of things going right for the Purdue Boilermakers here in the first half at home as the Huskies and Purdue open the 1988 season. Scoreless in the second quarter, and we're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. Washington Huskies start at their own 6-yard line after the fine punt from Sean McCarthy. Good coverage by that punt team, and Kerry Conklin faced with a long way to go. It's Aaron Jenkins out to the 10. Sam, what does Washington have to do to get on track?
Right now, they just need to get some room to operate the offense, be able to operate as if they were in 4-down territory. They're backed up right now, but what they also need to do as far as the passing game goes, get Kerry Conklin a few easy completions, get his confidence going, get him in a rhythm so they can start utilizing the passing game again. The running game is not working that effectively. It's not really taking the pressure off of him yet.
Huskies with 36 yards rushing to this point and just 10 yards passing. Jenkins, he's got some room. Look out. Here goes Aaron Jenkins. One man to beat. Mark Foster. Aaron Jenkins to the 22-yard line, and he may have twisted an ankle.
I think he'll be all right. He just ran out of gas. He needs a breather on the sideline.
A 67-yard gain from Aaron Jenkins.
The hole gets opened up on the inside. They throw Bill Hitchcock out of the way, and Aaron Jenkins just simply bounces to the outside. Brett Weesey leads the way. He cuts right off of Weesey's block and then goes to the outside. You see Hitchcock go flying out of the hole, and Aaron bounces to the outside and takes off down the sideline. Only one person to beat, and then all of a sudden he starts to pull up. He starts weaving and bobbing, and Mark Foster's giving chase, and then finally he just runs out of gas, as if the big giant husky landed on his back.
7 carries for 99 yards now for Aaron Jenkins, and that is the long of his career, the 67-yard effort you've just seen. Previous long, a 35-yard rush against the University of Arizona a year ago in Tucson. Trainer Dennis Seeley, team physician Steve Bramwell administering to him right now and making sure he'll be healthy. And boy, that really gives your offense a lift.
As we were talking about, the running game needed to get going, and just as we were speaking, bingo.
So Purdue's defense now has to face the Husky offense in a little bit different frame of mind. 1st and 10 from the Boilermakers' 23-yard line. Donald Jones, the fullback. The pitch is to Vince Weathersby, and he is met for no gain at the line of scrimmage. Ronnie Beeks up to make the stop. He's been busy today.
During that brief timeout, the entire Purdue defense went over to the sideline, and I'm sure Coach Fred Akers was telling them, hey, now it's time to suck it up and bounce back. There's one of those big plays we said we were going to have to give up. Now let's stop them here and hold them scoreless again. Go out there and get that football back for our offense.
Conversely, Washington has to punch it in here after a big play like that. They gain 1 on 1st down. It's 2nd and 9. Weathersby met for no gain. Perhaps a yard loss. Scott Conover is there.
Scott Conover started 7 ball games last year for Purdue, and then after the Ohio State game, had knee surgery. He was injured, but he seems to have rehabilitated. It's a little cross-buck action. They try to get the flow to go with the fullback, Donald Jones, but Purdue did not take the fake.
From the shotgun, Kerry Conklin on 3rd and 9. Incomplete. James Sawyer, the intended receiver. Kerry Conklin picking up that blitz.
By middle linebacker Darren Trebe, and Trebe right at Kerry's feet when he let go of that football, and that ball was very catchable. I think Sawyer thought the ball was coming right to him, and it may have drifted. There's a little bit of a breeze down on the field, and the ball might have drifted just out of his reach because he didn't fully extend his arms as he went out to make that catch.
It'll be 4th and 9. John McCallum's field goal effort is good. And Washington has broken the scoreless tie.
The Purdue players were signaling it was no good, and they began their celebration.
Washington leads Purdue 3-0 with 9:07 to play, 2nd quarter. These have taken a 3-0 lead on the 39-yard field goal by John McCallum. And Sam, they drive 94 yards, and they do it all on the ground.
6 plays. They had 1 pass attempt during that drive, 6 plays on that drive, and that is a big one because they started that drive. It was a 94-yard drive. They started back deep in their territory. Big play. Aaron Jenkins, 67-yard run right up the middle.
We'll have to see how Aaron Jenkins is and if he will return after apparently damaging a wheel. McCallum will now kick off, but I'm sure if Don James were to critique that drive, he would say they didn't put it in the end zone, and that has been a knock of the Husky offense past couple of years.
Well, he's got 2 reasons thus far in today's ball game. They didn't capitalize on the interception. However, they did get points, so that's palatable as far as Don James is concerned.
3-0 Washington with 9:07 to play second quarter. McCallum's kick. This is McManus with room. Check that, it's Ray Graham. Ray Graham, the return man. And he is out to the 46 or 44-yard line. Dana Hall made the stop. A 31-yard return.
And that is what Don James was scared to death about. He worked all fall on coverage, getting these guys to stay in their lane. Don't get pushed out of your lane. And all of a sudden you see that Graham finds that seam as Scales leads him up through the hole, which is what the other return man is supposed to do on a kickoff return.
1st and 10 from the 42-yard line. McCarthy going to the air. Scales for a gain of 6 to the 48.
Purdue seems to be going to the short passing game now, trying to get McCarthy in a rhythm. He's having a lot of trouble throwing the ball down the field on the long throws. Everything seems to be sailing on him, dropping that elbow down and kind of wishing the ball there. In warm-ups, he was throwing the ball with a lot of confidence over the top. Now he seems to have lost that confidence a little bit.
2nd and 4. Scales, the intended receiver. Washington's defense has been on the field an awful lot during this first quarter, Sam, or actually this first half.
The entire first half. Time of possession will be an interesting stat at halftime.
McCarthy is 6 of 14 thus far for 48 yards passing.
He's really only had 1 completion, though, down the field. That's the sideline in front of Art Malone.
Todd Moore was the receiver on that play. 3rd and 4. Scales for a first down. Fumble, but it's out of bounds, and they'll pick up a few more yards on the loose football. Well, when things go right, they really go right, don't they?
When you're hot, you're hot. Darrell Hall jams Scales coming off the line of scrimmage, doesn't want to let him get free, but however, Darrell doesn't get a full shot on him, which allows Scale to drift to the outside, created the separation, and then Darrell closes on him, knocks the football loose, but knocks it out of bounds, so Purdue gains another 6 yards with the fumble.
It's 1st and 10 from the Husky 35. McCarthy will pass. Todd Moore to the 31.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
We thank you for your patience around the Pacific Northwest on this Saturday morn. I understand it's a beautiful day back home.
Scales seems to be a little bit shaken up. He's been the workhorse thus far for the Purdue offense, both in rushing and receiving.
It's 2nd and 6. Nelson to the 25-yard line. Scott Nelson, a senior from Davisburg, Michigan.
Speaking of Michigan, Michigan is playing Notre Dame today. We asked a few folks whether they were fired up about the Purdue-Washington game today. They said, well, to be perfectly honest, Michigan and Notre Dame are playing today, so that's a little more interesting.
And of course, South Bend just a 90-minute drive north of here. The heart of the Midwest. We're about 90 minutes from Chicago, about an hour from Indianapolis, right between the two on Highway 65. And we have a timeout on the field. We're back following these words from your local station. This is Husky Football 88. Leading Purdue by a 3-0 score on the strength of a 39-yard field goal from John McCallum.
On this drive, Purdue is electing to go down the field through the air. Yards rushing, Washington has 104, Purdue only 31.
It is 3rd and 1. Nelson has the first down and perhaps more. Yes, he does. He's down inside the 15 to the 14. Eugene Burkhalter had to make the stop for Washington. Scott Nelson has been busy on this drive.
Taking over the void because of the injury to Jarrett Scales, and Nelson has come in to provide some punch from the inside running game.
3 carries for 20 yards for Scott Nelson. First and 10. Scales inside the 10. He's out of bounds at the 6-yard line. Burkhalter saved a touchdown.
Derek Schmidt, the left guard, number 64, leads the way, kicks out Darrell Hall, who's coming from a strong safety position on support.
We are experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Leading down the field, Darrell Hall comes up to force, and then Jim Sigelski's the one who blocked out on Darrell Hall, and Schmidt turned inside, sealed off the inside linebacker.
We understand we've lost our picture at Tacoma. We'll give you a radio account now. It is 2nd and 3rd. 2nd and 3 from the 5-yard line. Scott Nelson plows to the 1-yard line, and this crowd is on its feet as Sean McCarthy is moving Purdue down the field. Marty Harrison made the stop for Washington. He's at the 2-yard line, and it is now 1st and goal. 4 opportunities, Sam Atkins, for Purdue to get into the end zone.
Real test for the young Washington defense. Now it's time to see what they're made of and see if they can make a goal line stand and hold Purdue to just a field goal.
6:48 to play, first quarter. I formation behind McCarthy. The ball carrier, Scales. He's to the 1 where he is wrapped up and stopped. Ricky Andrews met him at just shy of the goal line. And Washington is held now on 2nd down.
Ricky Andrews, Travis Richardson, both linebackers closing and making the play.
They still have 3 more opportunities. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 1. We apologize for our loss of picture. We are working feverishly to get that back. 2nd and goal from the 1. I formation backs again. Scott Nelson into the end zone. Touchdown, Purdue. We'll correct ourselves. Darren Miles scored the touchdown from the fullback spot. And Purdue has taken a 6-3 lead after mounting a nice drive, most of which was on the ground.
Following the blocking on the left side by Bruce Brenneman and Derek Schmidt.
Larry Sullivan will attempt the extra point out of the hold of Lance Scheib. Bad snap, Scheib up to throw. Lots of pressure, looking to the end zone, and the pass is incomplete. And so the point after touchdown is unsuccessful, Sam.
And that was our first real attempt to see the new conversion rule into effect. Washington, if they would have been able to intercept this ball, could have gone back the other way for a 2-point score, which would have been a real big swing. The touchdown was provided on the blocking up front on the left side, like I said, and it was Darren Miles who just lowered his head and bowled his way through. They did a great job of sealing off the inside, and Miles just bounced to the outside, finding the pay dirt.
Bruce Brenneman, Derek Schmidt, Bruce Kreitz up front, the left side of that line, which is making things happen for Purdue University. And they've been beat up this year. They've had so many injuries, yet they come out and march right down the field, and they've given their club a 6-3 lead.
At one point, Coach Fred Akers thought about just working the team out in shorts because they had so many people injured. They didn't want to risk anyone else getting hurt.
Purdue has taken a 6-3 lead. .5:58 to play, and we'll see if Washington can answer the call. A 58-yard drive capped by the 1-yard touchdown run from Darren Miles. And this is certainly not the situation Don James envisioned coming into Purdue. He had plans of seeing his second unit players offensively today. Sullivan will kick off. Stevie Jones, Andre Riley deep to receive. It'll be Jones. Driven out of bounds near the 30-yard line by Derek Kelson. And that is where Washington will take over 1st and 10. Well, if anything, Sam, Fred Akers has sent a message saying, hey, we can move the football, and we're going to take you on.
Well, every first ball game for the coaches, there's a big question mark. Sure, we've had some good practices, but what can they do on the game day? And there's being some questions answered out here for both head coaches.
Kerry Conklin at quarterback, I formation. Play action. Intercepted. Ronnie Beeks. And Purdue with outstanding field position once again.
Great interception by Ronnie Beeks. Just simply cut off the throwing lane of Kerry Conklin. Kerry Conklin coming out on a waggle pass, which means that he had Brett Weesey as his personal protector leading the way. And Ronnie Beeks just simply out of nowhere goes high into the air to come down with the football. Kerry's just trying to throw a simple out route. I think he was going to Brian Slade. No, he was going to Aaron Jenkins. And Ronnie Beeks picks it up.
That's the third Husky turnover today. Washington trailing 6-3 with 5:47 to play, first half. Single setback is Nelson. McCarthy to the air. And this pass is intercepted. Art Malone for the Huskies comes up with a big play and saves a touchdown.
Excellent position by cornerback Art Malone. He took and ran stride for stride with Williams on the inside, looking back at the ball all the way. He never lost sight of the football and judged it perfectly, came down, wrestled the ball away. Simultaneous catch would go to the offensive receiver. The official ruled that Art Malone had possession of that football.
The Husky secondary, which led the Pac-10 in pass defense a year ago, very experienced with guys like Art Malone and Darrell Hall, Eugene Burkhalter. 1st and 10 for the Huskies from their own 20. It's Aaron Jenkins working hard.
The pile moving. There were 6 Purdue tacklers around, and that pile still moved 2 yards forward after Aaron Jenkins was hit. Don James has to be proud. They're counting on Aaron Jenkins for a big year and provide some big-time running punch.
And he's over the 100-yard mark now with 106 yards, 8 carries. 2nd and 3. Weathersby wrapped up and dropped immediately. Chris Burns.
Chris Burns, a redshirt freshman, he's only starting because there was an injury that you talked about earlier. Ken Kushner, who was in front of Chris Burns. Chris Burns coming in virtually untouched and doesn't go with the offside fake. Comes in, sees V-Dub get the ball, wraps him up.
A loss of 1 on the play. It's 3rd and 4. Vince Weathersby, 7 carries for 8 yards thus far. Conklin will pass. Steve Jackson covering on the play. The intended receiver was Brian Slater. And how about that? Purdue is held again.
Terry Conklin now 1 for 7. Sean McCarthy saying, okay, coach, what do you want me to do when I get back in there? He's getting ready to get the ball back for the offense. Terry Conklin now 1 for 7, 10 yards, 2 interceptions.
Troy McNair on to punt once again. Calvin Williams standing at his own 39-yard line. Good punt by McNair to the 33. Brian Slater up to make the stop. But Purdue has relatively good field position with 4:07 to play first half. Kerry Conklin having trouble moving that Husky offense. A 42-yard punt.
Kerry was slowly working his way over to the sideline phone to talk to offensive coordinator Gary Pinkel. And after you're not performing very well, you just hate like heck to go to the sideline because you know you got to talk to the coach upstairs.
Can't really say wrong number, can you? 1st and 10 from the 33. Scales and Miles are the setbacks. McCarthy finding a little more confidence now. Intercepted. Greg Travis to the 22-yard line. And Washington's defense comes up with a big play.
As they have been doing all day long, really there wasn't any Purdue receiver in the area where Sean McCarthy was throwing that football. He just kind of threw that one blindly and hoping that somebody would come up with a catch. The nearest receiver was Scales.
Greg Travis injured his shoulder a year ago against this same Purdue football team and ended up missing a couple of games because of it. And he's given Washington good field position.
And that's got to make him happy because last year he said, thank God Bo didn't go down because I don't think I could have played.
Washington with a chance, Sam, to look good going into the dressing room at halftime. Weathersby inside the 20 down to about the 15-yard line. Ronnie Beeks made the stop.
What a tremendous surge by the offensive line. Brett Weesey leading the way for Vince Weathersby on the sweep. That time they executed the play perfectly. Dennis Brown is the one who applied the pressure for Sean McCarthy, and you see absolutely no Purdue receiver anywhere. There was just some miscommunication. He might have been trying to go to number 80, Todd Moore, and Todd went in and Sean threw out.
Weathersby gained 7. It's 2nd and 3 from the 16-yard line. Jenkins near a first down. Chris Burns made the stop.
Chris Burns was simply staying home, not going with the offside fake. Aaron Jenkins thought he could cut back on that play. Chris was unblocked. They were thinking that he could get up inside, and it's kind of like a sucker play where they don't block that guy and let the running back just blow by him, but Chris Burns was not fooled. He closed the hole.
Jenkins picked up the first down. It is 1st and 10 from the 12-yard line. Jenkins. Perhaps one. Aaron Trebe, the tackler. Jenkins having a fine outing. First game of 1988. That 67-yard run set up the Huskies' first score.
Aaron Jenkins now has 10 carries, 113 yards. And Washington is trying to spread the field out by formation. This time they're coming out with the I formation.
On 2nd and 7. 3 minutes to play first half. Darren Trebe stops Vince Weathersby. Boy, VW's had no room to run at all today.
Darren Trebe is a transfer from Iowa State. He followed defensive coordinator Phil Bennett, who came to Purdue when Fred Akers took over. And Trebe says, well, I don't want to play for some guy by the name of Jim Walden, so I think I'll go with Coach Bennett. And he was their newcomer of the year at Iowa State when he started as a freshman and sat out last year. Now he's making the big plays for Purdue this year.
Weathersby, 9 carries, just 14 yards. Brian Slater, touchdown Washington. A 10-yard touchdown pass.
He was working on Steve Jackson, and that's the risk you take playing man-to-man defense down close. And I don't know whether Brian got that ball with his left hand. It looks like he caught that ball one-handed with his right hand because it was pinned. No, he does get both hands out there. I wasn't sure whether Steve Jackson had his right arm or left arm pinned down to the ground. But that's the thing, when you're playing bump and run, in the short end of the field, the free safety cannot come over and get involved in the play. And that is a perfect play down on the goal line, just a simple fade route.
John McCallum on to attempt the extra point out of the hold of Conklin. It's good, and Washington has capitalized on the turnover. Greg Travis interception sets up a touchdown drive for the Huskies. And they have taken a 10-6 lead with 2:19 to play, second quarter. Sam, that's got to be a big lift for Washington's offense, a big lift going into the dressing room at halftime.
Well, it's got to settle Carey down, too, knowing that he's got a touchdown pass. And plus, he's going to start to get into the rhythm. I'm sure Gary Pinkel, offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, is going to settle him down and say, hey, hang in there, just relax. Don't worry about what you've done in the first half. That's already in the books. There's nothing you can do about it. Now let's go out there and let's make things happen. Just do your job. Don't worry about everybody else. The drive on that play, 23 yards, 5 plays. Took 1 minute, 40 seconds.
The Boilermakers will take over, see what they do as they see if they'll elect to wind things down here at the first half and go to the dressing room trailing by 4, if they'll go into their 2-minute offense.
I bet they'll come back and try to use that intermediate passing game. Anticipating Washington playing a lot of zone defense, they're going to sit there and try and pick them apart and throw underneath to Jarrett Scales and the other intermediate receivers.
Former Husky quarterback Chris Chandler now plays for the Indianapolis Colts. About an hour and 15 minutes down the road. They practiced this morning, and he is en route to the stadium if he hasn't already arrived, and we hope to have Chris Chandler as our halftime guest from Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana.
Sounds like a rock concert.
Ross-Ade. Well, they put a lot of money into this stadium in the last year, about $1.5 million, refurbishing dressing rooms, painting the seats, dressing up the outside since Fred Akers arrived. Ray Graham with a return of 20 yards.
That return was 20 yards, which shows that there is good coverage by the Washington Husky kickoff cover team. However, that shows the point. They're starting at the 33-yard line. That's because McCallum didn't get the ball deep enough, and that's where Jeff Jager, when he was kicking off, used to kick it to the end zone. That shows the advantage of getting the ball to the end zone.
1st and 10 from the 33. McCarthy hands off to Darren Miles. Check that, Scott Nelson. Marty Harrison made the tackle. McCarthy 8 of 18 passing in the first half for 68 yards and a couple of interceptions. There's a few Husky fans, quite a few Husky fans as a matter of fact, here today.
For Pork Day.
That's what it is. They sold pork sandwiches, 12,000 of them, out in the tailgate parties before today's game. Minute and a half to play, first half. McCarthy. Complete. Calvin Williams. And they're into Washington territory. Art Malone brought him down.
Eric Briscoe is on the coverage, number 28. He's drifting. They're playing zone. He just can't close soon enough to knock the ball away from Williams. That was a very good throw by McCarthy. Getting the ball right in the seam. That's throwing with some confidence.
A 16-yard passing gain. 1st and 10 from the Husky 47. Going long. Pass interference. Art Malone. And the old spot foul is not in effect, so they'll bring that back, and it'll be, what, a 15-yard penalty?
That's exactly right. So it's really not that catastrophic. But it looked like Art Malone made a good play on the ball. He's looking back at the football. Todd Moore's looking back. Art sees the ball up, goes to get it. I don't know. That's questionable because both receivers and defensive back are going for the football.
And Art Malone was the man who actually got his hands on the football. The field judge from behind the play made the call. That's the first Washington penalty of 1988. It comes with 1 minute, 7 seconds to play in the first half. It's been a relatively penalty-free game, just 2 of them.
Very good defensive ball game.
1st and 10 from the 33. The shuffle pass. We have a penalty flag. Darren Miles took the ball. When you see a flag there, Sam, what does it normally mean?
Holding on the interior because it was thrown by the umpire. Oh, a clip. Purdue had some success last year running that same play. You see McCarthy looking downfield, trying to draw the defense wide, thinking he's going on a sprint out. And then Miles, the scale, comes in from the inside on the shovel pass. They ran this 3 times last year against Washington at Husky Stadium and had success every time.
And that'll back the ball up to the 48-yard line and take them out of field goal range for the moment.
Now they're back to where they were before the pass interference penalty.
And it is 1st and 25. Clock running, 57 seconds to play, first half. Don James' team leads 10-6. Taking a lot of time to get the play off with the clock running. Overthrows his intended receiver, Scott Nelson.
Sean McCarthy trying to draw the defense to him. They were trying to set up a screen. And McCarthy is 6'6½", and he's put on 25 or 26 pounds this year. He's bulked up to 224 pounds.
Just a beanpole.
Well, he reminds me a lot of the Seahawks wide tackle, Mike Tice. Or excuse me, tight end. Mike Tice was a 6'6", 240-pound quarterback for Maryland, came to the Seahawks and moved him to tight end, and he's had a very good NFL career.
2nd and 25. A flag. Eugene Burkhalter was there to lay a hand on the receiver. And Washington has been assessed a 2nd pass interference penalty in the last minute.
This time, however, it's a spot foul because it is less than 15 yards. So they only gain 7 yards on that penalty with 33 seconds remaining.
First and 10 with 33 seconds to play. I formation. And now Scales moves into that wing spot. Calvin Williams, Ricky Andrews brought him down. 22 seconds. And that clock is running.
Shotgun.
Intercepted. Lilo Lang comes up with a big play for Washington, and the Huskies will take a 10-6 lead to the dressing room.
Lilo Lang, great job of reading the quarterback. Sean McCarthy looking inside, staring at Williams the whole way. Lilo was covering Todd Moore going down the sideline, saw McCarthy looking inside. McCarthy did not see Lilo Lang, so he just turned, let the Moore go down the sideline, and then closed. You see him looking at the quarterback, sees him staring down Williams, and closes on it, makes a nice interception.
Sean McCarthy has now thrown 3 interceptions today. Kerry Conklin with 8 seconds in the first half. Aaron Jenkins carries, and time will expire in the second quarter at Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana. The fans on their feet to send the Purdue Boilermakers to the dressing room as the Boilermakers played well against the Huskies. A 10-6 ball game. Washington leading Purdue. Here we are back in West Lafayette, Indiana. We'll be visiting with Chris Chandler in just a few moments. But Sam Atkins, your observations first half of football here as the Pac-10 meets the Big Ten.
It's been a very defensive ball game. Both clubs providing a lot of turnovers for their offense. The offenses have had a little bit of trouble getting on track. 3 interceptions by Sean McCarthy, 2 interceptions by Kerry Conklin.
The Washington Huskies offense having some trouble getting going. Late in the first half, they finally put it together in their drive after the Greg Travis interception.
And I think that Gary Pinkel will have Kerry Conklin settling down in the second half, and I think you'll see a different quarterback coming out.
So we may see Eric Alozzi in the second half.
No, a different Kerry Conklin.
Different
one that's
Kerry
a little
Conklin.
bit more poised.
Okay, we'll look forward to that. We are at halftime with the Washington Huskies leading the Purdue Boilermakers 10-6. Keith Shipman along with Sam Atkins, and we'll be back to West Lafayette, Indiana, following these words from our sponsors. Back after these words from Lafayette, Indiana, where the Washington Huskies lead the Purdue Boilermakers at halftime. The Huskies went 17-8-1 under his direction from 85 to 87 and won 2 of the 3 bowl games in which he quarterbacked. Chris Chandler left Washington ranked 3rd in career total offense and was a 3rd-round pick by the Indianapolis Colts in last spring's NFL draft. Chris Chandler, thanks for joining us at halftime today. Had to beat feet to get up here, huh?
Yeah, we listened to the game all the way up from Indianapolis and got here just a while ago, and it's good to be here.
Practice this morning. How are things going with Indianapolis?
Good. We had a good week of practice. We had a disappointing loss last week, but the Bears present a great challenge, and it'll be fun playing them.
Now, we have heard a lot about the quarterback situation in Indianapolis the past couple of days. Gary Hogaboom possibly demoted to number 3, Chris Chandler up to number 2. What is the situation?
Well, it's kind of a cloudy picture right now. Jack for sure is going to start and go. Providing things go well and he doesn't get hurt, he'll play the whole game. As far as the situation with me and Gary, I got a lot of work this week in practice, we'll put it that way. Whether or not he'll go with me if it gets in a tight situation, I don't know. But I'm ready to go, and if the call comes down, I'll go at it.
A new teammate this week. Those of us in the Pacific Northwest are most familiar with him. That's Fred Young.
Talked to him this morning. He's real happy to be here. He's excited about the contract and other things that are going his way now, and he's going to probably get some action tomorrow. So impact player, and it's good to have him.
How about Chris Chandler? How does he feel about being in Indianapolis? Things going well for you?
Yeah, I just got settled in a couple days ago in the place I'm staying at right now, having a house built, getting adapted to the city pretty good, and it's a really nice place.
What do you think of the Huskies in 1988, the little you've seen of them thus far?
Well, I haven't seen any of them. I listened to the radio, and it sounds like things are starting to go their way toward the end of the second half. First half, I think Kerry's starting to settle down a little bit. I think the offensive line starts doing their job. Things will go good the second half, so I'm excited to see how things look.
Your Husky career obviously prepared you well for professional football. What do you remember? Well, what do you think most fondly of as you look back on your college career?
Well, a lot of the exciting games I played in were fun. Made a lot of nice friends, guys who I'm still close with. Even the guys out in the field today. So you look back on things like that. The SC game, like I said, real come from behind victories like that were real fun to look back on.
Hopefully you'll have a few of those with the Indianapolis Colts in the near future. You've got your sights set, no doubt, on being the #1 man there.
Well, it looks good for the future. Like I said, the preseason this year went really well, kind of a pleasant surprise, and I'm learning the system, feeling more and more comfortable with it, and I think eventually I'll be in there one of these years.
A lot of quarterbacks from the University of Washington have gone on to professional football. What is it about Huskyville that makes things so easy to move into the pro game?
Well, I think number one, you're playing in a great program. the Coach James program, I think the way we prepare for a game at Washington is similar to the way you do it up here. You get prepared that way. I think playing in front of 74,000 fans every home game and going on the road playing at Purdue, you get prepared for big-time crowds, and I think that helps out too. It's just that the whole atmosphere at Washington is good preparation.
Chris Chandler, care to make a prediction as to how well this Husky football team might do this year?
Well, you know, without seeing them, I guess I could say that they'll be pretty good. You know, again, we'll wait and see how the second half goes, but I think defensively, the guys they have up front will do the job, and again, with the line they have, that should take some pressure off Carey. And Aaron Jenkins, I heard, had a good run in the first half, so I think you'll see a better team in the second half, and the rest of the season, I think they'll progress and get better.
What's Kerry Conklin going through right now? You obviously felt some of those same emotions when you took over a few years back.
Well, I felt the same emotions when I played against Tampa Bay for the first time. It's, you know, you end up hurting yourself for no other reason than just that you're a little nervous. And I think with playing time, you calm yourself down and you get more of a grasp of what you're supposed to be doing out there. And I think you'll see Kerry getting better and better.
Anything you'd like to say to the friends back home in the Pacific Northwest?
Well, I'd like to say hi, and that, you know, one of these months I'll be home.
All right, real good. Chris Chandler, quarterback with the Indianapolis Colts. Thanks for joining us at halftime. Enjoy the second half of the game.
All right, well, thanks a lot.
All right, good to see him. Chris Chandler, the one-time quarterback for the Huskies, very successful, and now with the Colts here in Indiana. Washington's been upgrading its athletic facilities during the past few years, the first of which was the new addition to the north deck of Husky Stadium, and most recently, they put together a spanking brand new weight room. We are back in West Lafayette, Indiana. The University of Washington leading Purdue 10-6 at the half. Keith Tripman along with Sam Atkins. Take a look at our halftime scoreboard if we can now. And there are several other games involving Pac-10 teams today, but all of them are a bit later on today, Sam. First of all, 6th-ranked Southern Cal is visiting Stanford this afternoon. The University of the Pacific is visiting California in Berkeley. Moving on, we see Long Beach State is in Eugene to take on the University of Oregon today. The Beavers of Oregon State travel to San Jose to tangle with the Spartans. Battle of top 10 teams, 2nd-ranked Nebraska in the Rose Bowl against 5th-ranked UCLA. The Cougars are in the Metrodome later today to take on Minnesota, and both of the Arizona schools are at home tonight. The Wildcats are hosting Texas Tech, while Arizona State opens against Illinois. So the Pac-10 is real busy as they get set to move into conference play. One game already played in conference play. That was last week as Arizona met Oregon State. And the Beavers look to be much improved over a year ago as well, Sam.
They have some senior leadership in their veteran quarterback, Eric Wilhelm. Eric had a fairly good ball game, and he's the only guy that's really kept them in competition throughout the last 3 years. And hopefully for Oregon State, he can stay healthy.
Oddly enough, Washington misses Oregon State this year. They don't have that natural rival on their schedule in 1988.
Which became a rivalry in 1985.
All it takes is one win, doesn't it? Washington 10 and Purdue 6 at the half. There's some other big games being played today, of course, around the top 20, and we'll get to those a bit later on. Keith Tripman and Sam Atkins, halftime. And Sam, a couple of things we've talked about in the first half. Proposition 48, you know, there were 274 players disqualified this year under Proposition 48, and the Pac-10 and Big Ten had the fewest among most conferences in the country. The Pac-10 only had 5 players disqualified because of Proposition 48. The Big Ten had just 8. 2 of those were here at Purdue. And we talked about this on the way over today. Proposition 48 requires a minimum score of 700 out of 1,600 on the SAT test and 15 out of 36 on the ACT. There's some that... We're in the highlights now. We'll take a look at first half highlights very quickly, Sam.
This is Eric Alozzi handing off to Don Jones, who loses the ball down. This is the first turnover by the Washington offense.
Aaron Jenkins has had a big day for Washington. His first half totals are very impressive. This is a 67-yard run, Sam.
And Brett Weesey fires into Bill Hitchcock, who collapses down, allows Aaron to get outside, and Mark Foster, the free safety, comes over the top to give chase and run down Aaron Jenkins, who just quite simply ran out of gas.
11 carries for 116 yards in the first half for Aaron Jenkins, his finest day as a Husky. Sean McCarthy has had a pretty good day. handing off to guys like Darren Miles, and the Husky defense has tried to stop them, but they couldn't stop them getting into the end zone.
McCarthy's also had his problems, though. They did get that one score, and they missed the extra point. And McCarthy, under pressure from Dennis Brown, just simply throws the ball blindly to Greg Travis. I guess Greg was the only one that was open, so McCarthy threw him the ball. But Travis comes up with the big interception that turned into the Husky touchdown. 10
completions out of 22 attempts. 3 interceptions, though, for McCarthy, and here's the Husky touchdown.
And what a perfect throw by Kerry Conklin, hitting Brian Slater on a simple fade route.
A 10-yard touchdown pass from Conklin to Slater to give the Huskies a 10-6 lead at the end of the first half. Washington out in front, their 1988 season opener. We're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88.
Of Washington Huskies and the Purdue University Boilermakers is brought to you by Rainier Beer. The only beer we drink around here is Rainier. And by Fred Meyer. You'll find it at Freddy's.
Washington Huskies leading the Purdue Boilermakers 10-6 at the half in a rather defensive-oriented first half of play. Sam Atkins, statistically, Washington really doesn't have much of an advantage. We take a look at the rushing totals, though, and that's where we see the reflection of that 67-yard run from Aaron Jenkins.
And passing, Washington only has 20 yards passing. They have not been able to get that passing game on track. Time of possession is not as lopsided as we had anticipated, because Purdue dominated the first quarter, but Washington was able to balance that out in the second quarter.
Turnovers are the real discouraging point, though, for both clubs. They really didn't want to have 6 combined total in that first half. Travel arranged through U.S. Air. Whether you're traveling to Los Angeles for business or pleasure, U.S. Air has a convenient non-stop going your way. U.S. Air, the #1 airline at Los Angeles International Airport. Second half underway as Washington receives the kickoff from Purdue, and Andre Riley's on the loose on the outside. Out of bounds at the 45-yard line. And Sam Atkins, the Huskies will start with good field position here in the second half. A 34-yard return.
And Scott Jones providing a tremendous block, leading the way, allowing Jones to go down the left sideline. Fred Akers had a nice pep talk with his team at halftime. Purdue coaches were saying, we are going to get them this second half.
So Washington 1st and 10 from its own 45 to start the second half of play. Vince Weathersby. Forward to the 49-yard line for a gain of 4. It'll be 2nd and 6. No real serious injuries in the first half either, Sam, and I think that pleases both coaching staffs.
Well, that's one thing Don James has said about this entire spring is we've had a few minor injuries, but the guys have still been able to practice and get the work done. And that's what's pleased him the most, and I think that's why he feels this team is in as good a shape as they're in, because all the players have had a chance to work.
Washington in the top 20 this week and lead 10-6 early in the third quarter. Aaron Jenkins into Purdue territory. Sam, what do you think Washington will attempt to do here in the second half in terms of ball movement? Will they go to the air a bit more, stay on the ground?
They will. They feel like they're in control right now, so they will come back out and try to do what they've been doing, and that is establish the run to take the pressure off of Kerry Conklin and then work the pass in. But having had the run established, then coming back with play action passes where the linebackers have to honor that play fake.
Third and 2. Conklin earns the first down. Darren Trebe made the tackle.
Kerry learned that move from Eric Alozi. He said, well, you're not the only one on this team that can run the option.
Is there more of that option in the Huskies package this year, perhaps outside the goal line situations? Will we see them in the wishbone this year?
Probably when Eric Alozi's in the ball game, because what you want to do is when you're calling plays is utilize the talent that's on the field, and Eric does a good job of running the wishbone.
1st and 10. It's Weathersby Nowhere to go. Ronnie Beeks strung it out. They've been pretty successful at halting that outside game of Washington today.
Ronnie Beeks and Scott Conover. And Scott Conover, as soon as the play was over, was looking to the official saying, hey, can you watch that big number 75? He's holding me like you can't believe.
Like a what?
I can't say it on the air.
Okay.
I forgot, lost my head for a minute.
There's an emphasis from the officiating standpoint on sportsmanship this year. That's why he couldn't say that. On 2nd and 15. Weathersby and another loss. Donzel Leggett was right there to make the stop. The Huskies are going the wrong way. Loss of 2 on the play. It's 3rd and 17 now. Huskies have not scored in the 3rd quarter in their last 5 games. Heavy rush. James Sawyer, the intended receiver. Ronnie Beeks there for Purdue, and the Huskies will turn it over on downs.
Sawyer tried to go up and get the ball. It was just a little bit behind him. He couldn't come down with it because he felt the pressure applied by Ronnie Beeks. Chris Burns also was putting pressure on Kerry Conklin, which is why he had to rush that throw.
Michigan and USC recruited Troy McNair out of Ventura Junior College, and he has been most busy in his debut as the Husky punter today. Calvin Williams standing at his own 16-yard line to receive.
He averaged 35.3 yards in the first half.
Williams gets away, and he is up to the 29-yard line before being driven out of bounds. Nice little move by Calvin Williams.
On Mark Kilpack. Mark Kilpack trying to turn the play back in. Williams looked like he was crossing away.
Washington with a 4-point lead over Purdue. 11:42 to play, 3rd quarter. Huskies making their 1988 debut on the road against the Purdue Boilermakers in West Lafayette, Indiana. Just the 2nd time that Don James, actually 3rd time Don James teams have gone away from Husky Stadium to begin a season since his arrival in 1975. Last meeting away, Northwestern, a Big Ten opponent of 1984. Actually, 1983 was the year. And on 1st down, Purdue picks up a couple of yards. A 4-yard gain. Travis Richardson made the stop.
And Jeff Colvis had Scales tackled in the backfield, just couldn't hang on. Scales gets away for a gain of 4.
Husky offensive linemen trying to gather their thoughts.
Scott Jones started this ball game last year as a tight end for Washington. Now he's starting at offensive tackle.
A flag on the play. A little misdirection on the part of Purdue. Scott Nelson, the intended receiver. We have some sort of motion penalty against Purdue. Been a relatively penalty-free game, though, when one thinks about it.
Illegal shift on the offense, declined, it'll be third down.
That's the 2nd illegal shift that Purdue has had in this ball game thus far.
Obviously, Purdue's showing quite a bit offensively. How much of the playbook will Don James show today? He doesn't want to give away too many secrets.
Right now, I don't think that's a concern. He wants to do whatever it takes to open this ball game up to get a lead where he's comfortable.
4 points is not comfortable. 10-6, Washington leading on the strength of a Kerry Conklin to Brian Slater touchdown pass at the close of the first half. Scott Nelson to the 42-yard line before Jeff Colvis brought him down. The defense has been on the field so much today, Sam, they're going to get a bit tired.
and Sean McCarthy looking downfield. You see the offensive lineman setting up the screen, going out. Nelson makes a nice catch, but look at the hustle by Jeff Colvis, who was the nose guard, and he's downfield making a tackle 17 yards past the line of scrimmage.
1st and 10. Scales for a couple of yards. Ricky Andrews has been busy from his inside linebacker spot. Defense on the field so much, and with as much humidity as we're experiencing today, Don James' defensive unit has to be at least a little bit gassed, would one think.
But Dennis is pumping fluids in those guys like crazy when they get to the sideline.
Dennis Seeley, the trainer for the University of Washington. McCarthy upstairs. Intended receiver was Scales out of the backfield.
And McCarthy is really getting into the habit of just going to the back, not even looking downfield, because he sees Washington. Washington linebackers are doing such a good job of getting their drops, taking away the intermediate routes, and now they're starting to close that even more and more, and McCarthy's going to have to air one out just to soften those linebackers.
3rd and 8. There are McCarthy's numbers during the 100-yard mark in passing today. Todd Moore. Over the outstretched hands of Lilo Lang.
I think Lilo touched that football. I think he definitely got a piece of that one.
A 20-yard gain and a 1st down.
Lilo just playing a soft zone defense and just continues to back up. He sees McCarthy finally look his way, so he turns, makes a break on the ball, and the ball goes right between his outstretched hands.
1st and 10 from the 36-yard line. Williams in motion. Nelson, lots of room. Inside the 25-yard line to the 23 before Eric Briscoe made the tackle. And the black and gold of Purdue, which fills this stadium, is starting to get fired up. 1st and 10 from the 23 of Washington. Nelson. Actually, Darren Miles, the ball carrier. Ricky Andrews among those in the white Husky jerseys making the stop.
And Ricky Andrews is definitely providing some leadership just by his play. He's been in on virtually every tackle. He's been around the football, and he's picking up where David Rill left off.
David Rill is back on the University of Washington campus after a brief try in pro football, and will finish up his undergraduate degree this fall. Well, how'd you like to have him back in the lineup? Nice play by Ivory Randall, the redshirt freshman out of San Diego.
Comes in nickel situations to provide that. And Purdue has kind of fallen into the rut of, running that toss sweep in 2nd and long, and then 3rd down situations coming back with the screen play.
10th play of this drive coming up. It is 3rd and 10 from the 23 of Washington. Nearly intercepted by Lilo Lang. I'm not going to say it.
The ball was intended for Kelly Turner, went right through Kelly Turner's hands, which distracted Lilo, and that's why he couldn't hang on to that football, hit him right square in the face mask. But that's what you work on, the defensive backs. Coach Larry Slade has the tip drill and the distraction drill.
So Larry Sullivan will come on and attempt a 41-yard field goal from the left hash. It'll be Sullivan's first attempt this year. And the kick is wide to the left. And Washington escapes unscathed. Huskies with a 4-point lead, and we're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky football.
These four
Washington Huskies, one of 3 teams ranked among the top 20 from the Pac-10 this week, and they have the ball 1st and 10 from their own 24. Aaron Jenkins for a gain of 5. Tyrone Starks there to make the stop. The other Pac-10 teams in the top 20 this week, 5th-ranked UCLA, which picked up a couple of first-place votes in the AP Top 20 poll this week, and the other 6th-ranked Southern California with Rodney Peete, the Heisman Trophy candidate. Of course, Troy Aikman, a Heisman Trophy candidate for UCLA this season. 2nd and 4. Jenkins for a first down. Jarrell Williams made the stop. And boy, the fullback has been the primary ball carrier and primary gainer today for Don James Huskies.
They're trying to hit that 4-3 front very quickly, and it's a drive block by the offensive front. Dan Drazio has those guys firing out low, and they're driving, and they're getting 4 or 5 yard push on the defensive line.
1st and 10. Conklin upstairs. Intended receiver was Andre Riley. Gorgeous day here in the Midwest. Expecting a high in the low to mid 80s. Fans in shirt sleeves enjoying the season opener. The Big Ten looking for a win too. They went 0 for 4 last week.
What did Steve Harvey have to say about them in the bottom 10?
It's now the bottom Big Ten. Weathersby. Washington's highly touted offensive line trying to get something going against a relatively young Purdue Boilermakers front 4. Start a couple of sophomores and junior and a freshman, Sam.
Sometimes it's a little bit different, though. Washington plays a 3-4 or a 52 defense. Purdue plays a 4-3, so there's 4 big guys up front. And so it takes a little while to get used to that in game situations, because preseason they're working on everything for the season. So they really haven't worked a whole lot except for this week on the 4-man front.
3rd and 5. Shotgun and flags. Incomplete. Intended for Vince Weathersby. Jarrell Williams with coverage.
And the flags are for motion. The right side. V-Dub jumped just a little bit early. Purdue declines a penalty, forcing Washington to punt. They want to get the football back and see if they can continue the drive. Last time they were on the field for 12-play drive that came up empty.
So on 4th and 5, Troy McNair is on to punt once again. Calvin Williams is standing at his own 25. Nice kick. Williams back to his 20. Giving the Huskies plenty of time to cover on the punt. 5:59 to play, 3rd quarter. The Huskies with a 4-point lead. Northwest, we are pleased you joined us for Husky Football 88, season opener for the Huskies and the Purdue Boilermakers of the Big Ten Conference. Boilermaker marching band. Boilermakers offense has been marching today against that Husky defense. 1st and 10 from the 21. McCarthy. Calvin Williams to the 44-yard line. Chico Fraley made the stop.
And Darrell Hall is not in that Husky secondary. He has a sprained ankle, and he will not come back unless they absolutely have to have him. But Williams is the big play receiver for the Purdue offense. McCarthy throws to a wide open Williams, who, because of his speed, the Huskies have to honor that.
23-yard gain for Purdue. 1st and 10. Darren Miles. Dennis Brown made the tackle. Sam, how did, going back to the previous play, how does a guy get that wide open?
Well, it happened to be a zone defense, and the safety, he made a burst move, so the safety started giving ground. Then he hooked up into the zone, splitting the linebacker, and McCarthy threw the ball. That's great for a quarterback when you see your receiver that wide open.
Boy, losing Hall certainly will have an effect on that Husky defense. He's been injury-plagued throughout his career, the most severe of which was that broken leg back in 1985, which forced him to miss the rest of the season. 2nd and 3. Going long. Intended receiver was Curtis McManus.
They're trying to take advantage of Curtis McManus' speed. He's the fastest receiver on the Purdue squad. Runs a 4.3 40. McCarthy aired it up and just led him a little bit too much, and you saw the disgust he displayed with himself, saying, I should have had that one. Running stride for stride, and McCarthy throws the ball too far inside, and McManus starts in and then drifts back out. If he had just gone straight down the field, that would have been a Purdue touchdown.
3rd and 3. Graham at quarterback, and the option game, and he is wrapped up and dropped short of the first down by Mark Poole.
And Mark Poole did a great job of stringing Graham out, not giving him enough room to make the pitch, and yet forcing him to go inside. Because of that hesitation, the rest of the pursuit was allowed to catch up and stop Graham for no gain.
Boy, and when you have a quarterback who drops back to punt, you always have the threat of a decoy. And McCarthy will drop back on 4th and 3 now to punt. Andre Riley is the player deep to receive for the University of Washington. He is standing at his own 15-yard line.
Whoa.
Boomer of a punt. Into the end zone. And Washington will take over at their own 20-yard line. 3:54 to play. 3rd quarter, and we're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. This is the 1988 season opener for the University of Washington here in West Lafayette, Indiana. Next week they'll open up at home against Army at Husky Stadium, a 1 o'clock kickoff, followed by San Jose State on the 24th of this month. And then they open the Pac-10 season against UCLA on October 1st. Then, Sam, they go on the road for 3, perhaps the toughest stretch of the season that Washington has.
But at least they will have 3 home games in which to get their confidence going to get ready to open against UCLA. Then they go to Arizona State, then they're at USC, and then they go to Oregon.
Boy, whoever made that schedule wasn't looking favorably upon Washington. 1st and 10. Aaron Jenkins.
Washington offense has generated 153 yards on the ground and only 20 yards through the air. The passing game is going to have to get on track because the Purdue defense is now starting to get closer and closer and clamp down just a little bit more and more. And even if you throw a long incompletion, as long as you go up top, that stretches that defense just a little bit.
Huskies have not scored in the 3rd quarter in their last 5 games. 3:15 to play, 3rd quarter here. Andre Riley in and out of his hands. Matter of fact, the Huskies scored in just 3 games in the 3rd quarter last year, and they were outscored, 66-24.
Andre Riley caught just 2 passes last year, or really he has just 2 pass receptions in his career. That one hits him right in the chest, and that's kind of been the rap against him, that he can't hang on to the football. But he's had a great fall, and he's now understands the passing game and doesn't have to think about his assignments, so it should start flowing for him naturally.
3rd and 8. Conklin going upstairs for Brian Slater, and a flag on the play.
And this should be pass interference on Steve Jackson.
He was with him stride for stride, Sam.
But he kept pushing at him, and he wasn't looking back for the football. And it is pass interference.
And with that comes a first down for Washington.
Steve Jackson just gets his hands and holds Brian Slater's jersey, and he's never looked back at the football. If he had looked back for the football, they probably wouldn't have thrown the flag.
First and 10 for Washington. The penalty situation today, not a lot of them for a first game of the season. But 3 of them have been pass interference calls. So first and 10 for the Huskies from their own 36. Complete at the 42-yard line to Brian Slater. Derek Kelson made the stop.
Tyrone Starks, outside linebacker, covering Vince Weathersby. As Vince started to run by him, Starks just simply reached out and grabbed him around the waist, not let him go, and there was no official around to call the holding.
2nd and 4. Vince Weathersby. A first down and inside the 45 in Purdue territory. Jarrell Williams made the stop.
Along with Mark Foster.
That's Vince Weathersby's longest gain of the day.
Finally, he got a seam to explode through. The inside pursuit, the linebackers that Purdue have, they can run. They can flat out run. Starks runs a 10-700 meters. You see him going outside trying to turn the play in, but he cannot get back on Vince Weathersby, who exploded through the seam.
So first and 10 for the Huskies. Weathersby, a flag. Umpire threw the flag. Ronnie Beeks made the tackle, and there's a holding penalty against the University of Washington. So 2 steps forward, 1 step back for the Huskies.
On the offensive line, let's see if this weight loss that has been so much talked about
Have
comes
holding
into
on
effect.
the offense, 10 yards from the previous spot, still first down.
Don James has told those guys they got a little bit too big. They outweighed the Seahawk offensive line. So he wanted them to start eating nutritionally. And some of the guys have really dropped some weight. Jeff Palcoa is down from 286 down to 262. Vern Brostek is down from 302 to 270. Brett Weesey has always maintained he's been a conscious eater, and he went up. He went from 275 to 282.
How's that for a shirt? It's like one of those David Letterman lists. Minute 48 to play, 3rd quarter. Andre Riley, the intended receiver, on 1st and 20. Steve Jackson was there. And Conklin seems to have those first game jitters.
Well, he's not had the success, so right now what's going through his mind is, I've got to get a completion. And now he's not throwing the ball naturally, he's aiming the ball. He's 3 of 14 for 26 yards, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown.
Top 20 games today. Look at that. Rutgers leading 15th ranked Michigan in the 2nd quarter.
Michigan State.
Big Ten looking to go for 5. Vince Weathersby. Bill Hitchcock made the stop.
And they didn't know how long Bill Hitchcock was going to be able to play today. He's coming off knee surgery, injured it against Minnesota. It's the shovel pass. Kerry Conklin goes back, then simply flips the ball forward. Brett Weesey can't handle Hitchcock. Hitchcock simply throws him out of the way. Hitchcock is a black belt in karate.
Auburn leading Kentucky at the half. Third and 22. Conklin. Intercepted. Ronnie Beeks still on his feet to the 40-yard line. And the Huskies commit yet another turnover.
That's a classic. Kerry Conklin had more than enough time to get rid of the football or to just throw it away so you don't turn the ball over. He's back in the pocket, can't find anybody. James Sawyer crosses and then sees Kerry in trouble, so Sawyer turns up the field, but by the time Kerry can set his feet and throw, Beeks comes over from his strong safety position clear on the other side of the field and makes the interception.
The third interception thrown by Conklin today, and you'll see Derek Kelson, number 2, at the bottom of that pile. He was injured in the play and is now on his way back to the bench. Ronnie Beeks with the interception, stalling a Husky drive which had been sputtering but yet had been moving, Sam. And I'll tell you what, every time the Boilermakers take the football, they get a lift.
And McCarthy's 13 for 29, 141 yards, 3 interceptions starting this drive.
45 seconds to play, third quarter. Darren Miles. Jeff Colvis with a tackle.
This defensive squad has played very well for Washington, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of that Purple Rain defense of 1984, because these guys have a little bit of a nasty streak to them. They got guys like Colvis, they got guys like Ricky Andrews that are going to start hitting people.
Third-ranked Clemson leading Furman in Death Valley. This will be the last play of the third quarter. Well, I'm incorrect. There are 2 seconds left on the clock after the incomplete pass. Eric Briscoe with coverage.
He almost had the interception. Ricky Andrews is the one who tipped the ball. Briscoe was just a little too far away to come up with a diving interception. But Ricky Andrews has played very well in pass coverage today. He has really done a nice job.
Dan DiRaggio, the offensive line coach for the University of Washington. Haven't had a lot of push off that offensive line today. 2 seconds to play. Third quarter. Look at that. Kelly Turner with a big catch. Tony Zachary made the stop as the third quarter draws to an end.
Kelly Turner says, wait a minute. Hey, you didn't tell me they were going to hit me that hard. Says, get me out of this game for a minute.
Ronnie Beeks' interception has given Purdue the ball. They're driving. We're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. The most prolific passer in University of Washington history had his best day against Purdue in Husky Stadium, September 18th, 1971. Sonny Sixkiller passing for 387 yards in the Huskies' 38-35 victory over the Boilermakers. 1st and 10. And Scott Nelson carried the football for Purdue. Ricky Andrews made the tackle. Well, it was a big day for a guy named Gary Danielson, too.
Danielson will be starting for the Cleveland Browns tomorrow in place of Bernie Kosar, who will be out for 4 to 8 weeks.
Danielson gained 215 yards rushing in that game at quarterback. Now 36 years old, makes his first start since 1985 for those Cleveland Browns. 2nd and 8. Jarrett Scales Ricky Andrews with the stop once again. Boy, Andrews has really had to cover ground today from his linebacker spot.
Like I said, he has been all over the field, but that's the way this defense is designed, for the inside linebackers to be able to get the freedom to roam. They're using their outside linebackers for pass rush as well as pass coverage, trying to keep the offense guessing. Are they coming or are they dropping off?
Husky Rally Squad made the trip. West Lafayette, Indiana. 3rd and 4. Overthrew his intended receiver, Curtis McManus. Eric Briscoe, who is playing in the place of the injured Darrell Hall, provided coverage. Hall, as Sam mentioned earlier, has a sprained ankle and will not be back unless absolutely needed today. And one would suspect in the preseason, Don James would much rather have him become a fully healed athlete as opposed to a partially wounded one.
Well, you have to look back to last year's squad when Chris Chandler was dinged up, and they continued to keep him in the ball game, and he never had a chance to heal. And so he just was dinged up all year long.
We're trying to protect Kerry Conklin's redshirt year as well. 4th and 4. Scott Nelson.
He's short.
Short of the first down. Fred Akers showing some fortitude, going for it.
Well, you can't doubt him, really, because last time they were even further out. They were on the 47-yard line, and McCarthy put the ball out of the end zone. So why not go ahead and go for it? The way his defense is playing, McCarthy sees Nelson wide open in the flat, but Ricky Andrews comes up and closes, stops him short of a first down.
13:30 to play. We'll be back following these messages from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88. Sade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana. The Washington Huskies and the Purdue Boilermakers, season opener for both clubs. Next week, Purdue will host Ohio, and then they go up to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Of course, the Huskies, Don James Club, will be home next week against Army.
I love Lou Holt's quote. He says he has a young ball club. They're playing a night game tonight. Kickoff is at 8 o'clock. He says, I'm really glad because that gives us that much more time to mature.
A man known for his quick wit and known for his ability to turn football programs around and into winners, Lou Holtz. Aaron Jenkins for a yard, perhaps 2 on first down. Darren Tree busy at that middle linebacker spot today, the transfer from Iowa State. Second and 8 now for Washington. And the Huskies can't afford to just hang out of the ball and ball control things. They need to put some points on the board to give themselves a bit of a cushion. Vince Weathersby with a reception, a flag on the play. Tyrone Starks provided coverage.
Flag is thrown in the vicinity of Vern Brostek, who was protecting Kerry Conklin. Before the snap, Mark Foster is moving all around, trying to confuse Kerry Conklin, and that's what he had intended to do going into the ball game.
The face mask, it's a 10-yard penalty.
Because he said Kerry will probably be nervous going into this ball game, and you try to get a pre-read, and Kerry thinks, okay, is he coming on a blitz? Do I have to adjust? Do I have to audibilize? So that's what Mark Foster's trying to do. Then he'll run out of there and play a zone defense or turn on the outside. That time he doubled on Andre Riley.
Tony Brown is coming to replace Derek Kelson at the right corner. Kelson limping off the field. Aaron Jenkins is the ball carrier. Darren Trebe there once again to make the stop. Sam, Don James said going in that he would like to have the opportunity to see how well his number 2s can play, particularly offensively, and he certainly hasn't had that chance today.
No, I think now his new remark will be, I'd like to see how well my number 1s are going to play, because they obviously need to work together as a unit.
Aaron Jenkins, 17 carries, 140 yards today. Conklin to pass on 3rd and 15. Brian Slater over Steve Jackson, and Slater testing that knee a bit. He had arthroscopic knee surgery early in fall camp, Sam.
And running a very good corner route, comes down. Steve Jackson, number 1, is providing the coverage, and Slater turns to the outside. Jackson's with him stride for stride. But the problem that Jackson has is when he is providing the coverage, he doesn't look at the quarterback until the receiver turns his head and looks back. By then, it's too late.
33-yard gain. Conklin to Slater. And a first down. The ball on the 32-yard line of Purdue. Weathersby running behind Brett Weesey and Mike Zandowski. Mark Foster made the stop.
And a lead block on Steve Jackson, the corner, by Aaron Jenkins, who had come on an outside blitz to force the run. Aaron Jenkins cut him down behind the line, which allowed V-Dub to run up inside. And that's one thing. Those two block so well. They're very good friends, and they block so well for one another.
Weathersby, 15 carries for 37 yards today, and a timeout called by Fred Akers and Purdue. Want to talk things over as the Huskies have started running the football a bit. We're back following these words from your local stations. This is Husky Football 88.
When you set sail on a solid investment,
Washington with a 10-6 lead, 11:07 to play, fourth quarter, and they're mounting a drive. Weathersby for a first down.
Again, lead block provided by Aaron Jenkins on Steve Jackson. Aaron Jenkins is running that sweep very well. They're taking it into the short side of the field to run away from the free safety. Or excuse me, from the strong safety.
Vince Weathersby out of Dorsey High in Los Angeles. First and 10 from the 19. Jenkins to the 16-yard line. Jenkins has carried the ball quite a bit today, but we've talked the last couple of moments about his blocking ability.
Washington lined up in the same formation that time, faking the toss. V-Dub stretching the linebackers to the outside, acting like he's running the sweep, and then they give the ball to the inside to Jenkins,
who's carried 18 times today for 143 yards. Jenkins inside the 15 on second down.
Jeff Palcoa getting stuffed in the hole by Chris Burns. So Aaron really didn't have anywhere to run, tried to find some daylight, but Burns had that thing jammed up and just fell right across where Aaron wanted to run.
Now his father played football at Iowa State. Aaron Jenkins, that is, and he elected to move from Stockton to Seattle to play his college ball. 3rd and 5. Conklin keeps to the 8-yard line. Ronnie Beeks made the stop, and Conklin is near first down yardage.
It is definitely a first down.
And it'll
first and goal from the 8-yard line. And Kerry Conklin, one thing about him, at his size, 6'4", 220 pounds, he doesn't mind mixing it up. He played linebacker in high school, and he says, I kind of have the linebacker mentality. I like to hit people. I love contact.
Great camaraderie with his offensive line. First and goal, Jenkins to the 5.
And that ball was handed off. Aaron made a nice move to just hang on to the football because the ball was coming out of his chest just as he was going through to hit the hole. And they can ill afford another fumble down here close.
The way this game has been played, and with the few scoring opportunities which have been presented, one would think that a 11-point lead would hold up were they to pick up 7 here.
Sean McCarthy, not known as a big play quarterback. However, with the receivers that he has on offense, they could come back very quickly. Calvin Williams.
2nd and goal now from the 5. Jenkins and Weathersby are the backs. Weathersby appeared to have been knocked down by his own man, Mike Matz.
It was Starks that made the hit. Tyrone Starks knifing in from his outside linebacker position. V-Dub tries to cut up inside, and then out of nowhere, Starks comes in and just drills V-Dub.
I didn't see Starks. He was behind Mike Matz from my vantage point. It'll be 3rd and goal now after a loss of 1 from the 6-yard line.
The only reason I knew he got hit because I knew his own guy wouldn't hit him that hard.
True enough. 10th play of the drive, which started at Washington's 39-yard line. In and out of the hands of Vince Weathersby. And here comes the field goal unit.
Kerry Conklin wanted to go to Brian Slater on that fade route again. Steve Jackson, providing bump and run coverage, would not allow enough room for Brian Slater to get open, so Kerry had to come off the right side and turn all the way back and go to the left side. See the hand-to-hand combat. Jackson doesn't allow enough room. Kerry knows he can't get the ball in because Brian's run out of sideline.
Highly disappointing. They have to settle for the field goal opportunity, which from 23 yards away is good. John McCallum with field goals of 23 and 39 yards today. The Huskies lead 13-6. Back following these words from your local station. This is Husky Football 88. Well, Fred Akers of the Purdue Boilermakers looking for his 100th coaching victory today, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case at this moment. His record 99, 51, and 3, coaching at Wyoming, Texas, and Purdue. Don James, on the other hand, 108 victories, 43 losses, and 2 ties in his 17-year career.
Don needs only 3 Pac-10 victories this year to become the all-time winningest coach in the Pac-10 history.
And of course, the current leader is John McKay from USC with 70 conference victories during his tenure as head coach of the Trojans. McCallum kicks off. Scales to the 26-yard line.
And there's a flag on the play.
James Clifford, the freshman from Seattle's Ingram High School, made the stop.
And he is going to be a player by the time he leaves the University of Washington. He is a true linebacker, just your typical madman who loves to hit people, fly around. The stiffer he is, the better he feels. There you saw the holding penalty.
And that'll back things up to the 16 of Purdue. Ingram, drafted by the Seattle Mariners, they're still making efforts, as we understand, to sign him.
Clifford. James Clifford?
James Clifford.
Was a great baseball player also.
You say James Ingram?
You just said Ingram.
From Ingram High.
We got it. Now we're underway.
55-yard drive, concluding in the 23-yard field goal by McCallum. First and 10. Scales out to the 19-yard line. Now Clifford, playing for Coach James in the special teams role. A lot of speed in the special teams this year, and they've been able to use the players in that freshman class.
They have really worked hard on the special teams. As Don James referred to his kicking game last year, was the worst in the history of football.
Iowa dropped out of the top 20 after their loss to Hawaii last week, and they lead Kansas State. 2nd and 6. Scott Nelson met by Greg Travis.
Purdue still very much in this ball game. They can come back. They're only one touchdown away from a tie. They go for a 2-point conversion, and then that onus would be on Washington to come back and score. So don't count this ball game over yet. Stay tuned.
6:52 to play in the 4th quarter. First and 10. McCarthy will pass. And they stop the clock. No, an incomplete pass. They say Calvin Williams was out of bounds.
It's Kelly Turner. No, it was Calvin Williams, excuse me. Kelly Turner came over to plead the case, but both officials immediately signaled incomplete pass. See if he comes down inbounds. Can't quite tell.
2nd and 10. Williams in motion. Nelson across the 30. Ricky Andrews made the tackle. Clock running with 6:19 to play.
McManus coming into the ball game. Going to try to capitalize on his speed. What they do is they take the tight end out of the formation, bring McManus in, go with 3 wides that can just flat fly. They spread the field out, force the linebackers wide, and then they try to make things happen.
3rd and 7. Big rush. Scott Nelson, the receiver. Jeff Colvis made the stop.
And Jeff Colvis has seen that so much today that as soon as he started on a pass rush and realized that they were going to let him through very easily, he falls off into the play and follows the center out. He sees the Nelson going over to the side, so Colvis just flat takes off and said, I'm going to get you. You're not going to get that first down.
4th and 4. McCarthy has dropped back to punt formation, and Andre Riley is standing by at his own 28. He's going to pass. Nelson drops the football. Beg your pardon. Mike Borman, a flanker. Borman was the intended receiver.
Schrummeyer is on the release. And he's out there, and Sean McCarthy simply threw the ball to the outside, forcing Schrummeyer to turn around to the outside.
We're back following these words from your local station. This is Husky Football 88. Back at Ross-Ade Stadium, West Lafayette, Indiana. The Washington Huskies lead the Purdue Boilermakers 13-6.
Got to give Coach Fred Akers credit for pulling out all the stops and trying to come away with a victory to get his young ball club some confidence.
They fake the punt, but they turn the football over at their own 35. Here's Weathersby. Twisting to the 29-yard line. Ronnie Beeks, the tackler. Heard his name a lot today.
Strong safety. V-Dub now has 18 carries for 49 yards.
Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is Husky Football 88.
This is Q13, KCP Q13, Tacoma.
Second and 5 for Washington at the Purdue 30. Aaron Jenkins squirts ahead to the 31. Keith Shipman along with former Seahawk quarterback Sam Atkins, and we're pleased you've joined us along with the 55,000 or so here at Ross-Ade Stadium in Lafayette, Indiana today for the Huskies season opener. And we're pleased you've joined us wherever you are throughout the Pacific Northwest. KAYU in Spokane on our network this year, KEPR in the Tri-Cities, KIMA in Yakima, KCWT in Wenatchee, KLEW in Lewiston, and Columbia Cable brings the game to our viewers in the Vancouver, Washington area. And of course in Seattle, Tacoma, KCPQ, the flagship station of Husky Football 88. Aaron Jenkins carrying for a first down, and that'll keep the clock moving once they reset the chains.
3 minutes, 42 seconds, and Eric Alozi is in on that drive, on that particular play. He'll come in on the short yardage situation, trying to get him to run the wishbone offense, because he gives that new dimension. He has a quarterback that can turn the ball up the field, and that's what Don James likes.
Redshirt freshman out of San Bernardino, California. 1st and 10. Jenkins. Well, Eric Alozi comes from a pretty talented football family. He has a cousin named Dwight Hicks, who some people might recall played some pretty good football for the 49ers and still does. Another cousin, Jason Hicks, is a member of the University of Miami, Florida football team. 3 minutes and running. Conklin moving the offense, 2nd and 7. Jenkins. He's been the workhorse today offensively for Washington. Darren Trebe, who made the tackle, has been the workhorse defensively for Purdue.
Aaron now has 24 carries for 163 yards. So you are exactly right when you say he is the workhorse.
Huskies lead the series between these two teams with 3 victories, 1 loss, and 1 tie. This is the 6th meeting, with just the 2nd game being played in Indiana. Weathersby. To the 1-yard line.
V-Dub getting stopped by his own men, running into first Scott Jones, then running into Mike Matz. Otherwise, he would have been into the end zone.
A 15-yard gain for Vince.
V-Dub running that eye toss, the sweep. You see Jenkins leading the way again. There he runs into Scott Jones, then turns around, sees Mike Matz, and stops him from going into the end zone.
1st and goal. Into the end zone for the touchdown. The Washington Huskies. Donald Jones. Eric Alozi with the score. Oh, check that. Alozi, the quarterback. Donald Jones with the touchdown. And Washington has extended its lead. 19-6 with 1:49 to play. Donald Jones, the backup fullback out of Gladys, Virginia, a redshirt freshman. And here's McCallum out of the hole to Conklin for the extra point. It is good, and Washington has opened up a 14-point lead at 20-6.
And Alozi in at quarterback gives on the first option to Donald Jones, who just goes over the top and backs his way across the stripe for a touchdown.
And Ross-Ade Stadium is quickly emptying as the Huskies have opened up that 14-point lead. Back following these words from your local stations on Husky Football 88. Visits UCLA on Saturday, October 29th. We have the game for you live here on the Husky, or rather the Cougar Football 88 network, and of course the Husky Football 88 network. Flagship station KCPQ, bringing you college football throughout the Pacific Northwest this fall. We'll also have the Apple Cup game from Martin Stadium in Pullman, which features Washington and Washington State on November 19th. Hope you'll join us with your friends at your Apple Cup party. Purdue will start at its own 17-yard line, and Sam Atkins, as we see Dana Hall walk off the field, we have to question the 4th down play, which led to this scoring drive.
Washington took over on the 35-yard line, scored in 5 plays, but you have to wonder about the thought process of going for it on 4th down, because the defense has played so well And the likelihood, you know, granted it was a poor throw, and you wouldn't second guess them if they had made it.
Ray Graham on the shuffle pass. He's to the 25-yard line and out of bounds.
But to continue the point, since they didn't make it, that kind of put their defense with their back against the wall and in a bad position, and it kind of took the wind out of their sails. All of a sudden you could see the defense dragging to get back on the field. They didn't have the same pep in their step, and I think Coach Akers had to do it over again. I don't think he'd go for it.
Washington able to open up a 20-6 lead after that change of possession, and are on their way to their first victory of 1988. Fred Akers' team much improved, though. We've certainly seen that today. McCarthy to the air, batted around and almost intercepted. Travis Richardson drew a bead on that football. Defensive lineman trying to make a grab.
He tried to make the interception. The ball hits off of Chico Rayleigh as he's looking around, and all of a sudden Travis makes a dive for it, goes right through his arms.
McCarthy 18 of 39 today for 171 yards and 3 interceptions. It'll be 3rd and 2 with 1:33 to play. The stadium quickly emptying here. Incomplete. Intended receiver was Ray Graham.
This time they have no choice but to go for it on 4th down. Sean McCarthy, he has a much better arm than he has displayed today. In the pressure situations, he has kind of started throwing sidearm and has been very inaccurate with his passing game. And I think when you look at it in retrospect, he had a great spring, he had a good fall camp, but like the coaches say, they say, hey, what have you done in the games? And when pressure is applied, a lot of guys, some guys are practice players, some guys are game players.
And we're coming back to West Lafayette in just a moment. 1:29 to play, 4th quarter. Washington leading Purdue 20-6. And Purdue facing a 4th and 2 situation. The ball on their own 25-yard line. And they will punt it away, or so we think. Sean McCarthy, the quarterback, is lined up deep. Andre Riley set to receive. Riley, fair catches at his own 38-yard line. And Washington takes over for what will likely be the last drive of the game. And a big day for Aaron Jenkins.
And let's see who they bring in at quarterback, if they bring Eric Alozzi in to run the clock out.
Jenkins carrying 24 times for 162 yards today. His career best and his 3rd 100-yard effort as a Husky. Alozzi at quarterback. Donald Jones. Tony Covington did not make the trip. His shoulder injury has not responded, and not being 100%, they left him home with the hope that he will become fully healthy soon.
But they've also moved him to tailback. He's in the competition in the hunt for the tailback position because of the emergence of Donald Jones.
One of the deepest positions the Huskies have, the backfield now, with Aaron Jenkins, Donald Jones, James Compton at fullback, and the tailback spot deep as well.
And the offensive line, that's why they're counting so much on the running game.
45 seconds to play. Alozzi is dropped.
And there were a lot of questions answered for Don James today. Now he has something to hang his hat on. He's got a game under his belt. This is something that he will definitely not be bragging about. It's one of those ugly wins.
Nonetheless, you'll take it. The Huskies will go to 1-0. Travel arranged through U.S. Air. Whether you're traveling to Los Angeles for business or pleasure, U.S. Air has a convenient nonstop going your way. U.S. Air, the #1 airline at Los Angeles International Airport. On 3rd and 7, clock running with 9 seconds left. This will be the final play of the game. Greg Lewis, the ball carrier. And the University of Washington Huskies have won their season opener in 1988, defeating the Purdue Boilermakers 20-6. And Fred Akers' 100th victory will have to wait till next week when the Boilermakers host Ohio. We're coming back to Lafayette, Indiana, following these messages from your local station. This is Husky Football 88. Defeat Purdue in their season opener 20-6. Aaron Jenkins, Sam, has his finest day as a Husky with 24 carries for 162 yards.
Aaron Jenkins, and you got to credit the offensive line up front. They had their work cut out for him playing against that four-man front. They opened holes, but he got a big chunk on that 67-yard run.
And the defense played well today.
Ricky Andrews gets my vote for player of the game. He played very well on the inside, and he seems to be providing the spark that the defense has been lacking in the last couple of years.
I'd like to thank our spotter today, Dave Fowler, our statistician, Tim Newton, for their assistance. Be sure to join us on Saturday, October 15th, when the Washington State Cougars visit the Wildcats at the University of Arizona. We're on the air at 6 o'clock from Tucson. Husky Football 88 is a presentation of Kelly Television. For Sam Atkins, I'm Keith Shipman. So long from West Lafayette, Indiana.